I move that we open the Marshfield Conservation Commission meeting of July 20th, 2022. May I have a second? We'll be doing the roll call votes as one of our commissioners is attending via Zoom. So, Commissioner O'Donnell? Commissioner Vice Chair?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodge? Commissioner Good? And Commissioner Hampton, yes. I will just explain once again that in the event of technical failure of any sort, the meeting will continue live in this room under the emergency order. I want to welcome Commissioner Good to his first meeting at the table. And I want to congratulate Commissioner Dodge on the birth of his daughter yesterday. Thank you. So thank you both for being here, especially you. So moving forward, we have business items. The first being Arthur Loggy at 14 East Street. Moving a shed, elevating a generator, and adjusting a path that will be impacted by the shed movements. This has been deemed to be de minimis by 4 commissioners. So I move that we vote to approve the relocation of 2 sheds and the elevation of the HVAC equipment to conform with building and zoning regs as a de minimis activity with special conditions. Do you want to read the special conditions, Michael?
Yes, the special conditions are as follows. Ensure best management practices are followed. Obtain all subsequent permits, including Marshfield Zoning Board of Appeals and building permits. See conservation administrator or agent for guidance on conservation permits for work beyond the approved work activities.
Okay. May I have a second?
Second. Approve the.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Approve.
Vice Chair O'Donnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodge? Commissioner Good? And Commissioner Karen?
Susan Karen, yes.
And Craig Hamilton, yes. Okay. Item B2 is Count Beach Boy Scout Troop 101 Geocache Project. And I think we have Nathan Beauchamp here to discuss that with us. You need to unmute Nathan and let us know what your project is.
Okay. I'm here at this meeting today because I'm with Troop 101, and me and a couple of other scouts are working on our geocaching merit badge. And as one of the requirements for the geocaching merit badge, we need to plant a geocache. But in order to plant the geocache, we need the town's permission. So I'm here to get permission to plant the geocache. I'm Nathan Beauchamp. I'm 14 years old, and I was born in Marshfield. I'm a part of the Boy Scout Troop, Troop 101, and I'm just requesting your permission to hide the geocache on the property of Couch Beach. For those who don't know what a geocache is, it's a small waterproof container hidden somewhere in the world that has its location shared on an online map. And in my geocache, you can put stuff like coins, toy cars, little trinkets, like a Pez dispenser or something. My geocache is just a Tupperware-like container with writing on it. Uh, to the right of here is the exact location of the geocache. Up on the screen, you can see the coordinates. It's a little bit southeast of the campfire down at Catch Beach, and it's hidden underneath a tree stump, as you can see here. It's hidden underneath the root system, but it's open to the keen eye. If you see it, then it's allowed to be planted. One of the geocache's rules is it can't be buried underground or somewhere that could be destroyed. And we had to take into account that trees could fall over and possibly ruin the location of the geocache, but the root system will stay intact. So I decided that we could hide the geocache there. That's it, I guess.
Okay, that's very good. I love your PowerPoint, Nathan. I'm glad you got a chance to camp at Couch Beach too. That's a great place. So I move that we vote to approve the location of the geocache at Couch Beach by Nathan Oceans. May I have a second?
Second.
Susan.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Aye.
Vice Chair O'Donnell?
Yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
And Commissioner Good? And Commissioner Karen?
Yes.
And Craig Hanifin, yes. Okay. Thank you, Nathan. Good luck.
Thank you.
Next up is 219 Ridge Road, a review of the proposed restoration activity for unpermitted building. There's someone here to address this?
No, there isn't.
Okay.
That is the next one. Bear with me. I might have put you out of order then here. I thought that was South Street was next.
Oh, I beg your pardon.
Because of town council being here.
It is an mistake.
Yeah.
13 South Street, request for a certificate of compliance review. We have, I think, town council here. You out there, Attorney Galvin?
Yes, I am.
Hello, Bob.
Hi, good evening, everybody.
So we have a situation where this building had a mud concrete floor poured under it, contravening one of our special conditions requiring that. I'm the attorney.
Yeah, you wait a sec. The chair's going to continue.
I'm just gonna throw this out there, what we're talking about. So, our conditions specify that there could be no impervious surface under the house, but this slab was poured. If Mr. Fournier would like to address it, please do.
This is a statement emailed from the building commissioner to the town council and to myself and the Spires Council. It's using a memorandum law format highlighted the pertinent portions.
Thank you.
I don't have a copy of this memo, so I don't know what it says.
All right, may I read it or will I be listening?
It is Andrew Stewart's comments.
So-
I believe you received those.
Yeah, just in order of thing, Bob, you had provided comments, and then I think around the 8th, Andrew replied, you had provided comments to us around, I think, the 5th or so, and then Andrew responded on the 7th. That actually is the date of this. So you were on the email. It just basically describes the construction under the house. It's well written, but it describes the construction solely, pretty much.
But at the time of the, if I might add, at the time of the.
Okay, I have that memo.
Order, the order being poured in January of 2005. The building was built as designed by an engineer and approved by the town, and is passed all the inspections. And the mud slab is actually designed as a breakaway slab, only 2 inches thick, designed to break away hydraulically, and it's in compliance with all the code from back then and this period now. And I think the order condition number 8, I believe it is, saying that there should be no concrete at that time was an error, because it was designed to be in there and it was approved. And I really believe the current guidelines would pass it under 8 CSE 24-14, the engineering standard for flood resistant design and construction that all flood zone codes are based on. And the commissioner ended in the last paragraph saying the current mud slab as installed is code compliant. A certified as-built plan was submitted 4/27/05. The foundation inspection was conducted and passed 17th of May of that year, effective closing the permit. Everything you read in the highlighted area, highlight, basically says it's in compliance to current codes at that time, and designed by an engineer would be proficient at designing a structure like this. I don't really believe the condition A should apply.
I will certainly defer to Attorney Galvin on this, but this is strictly concerning building codes. We are not concerned with building codes. We conditioned this so that there would be no concrete slab or other structure placed beneath the dwelling.
That regulation or that belief was to enhance water flow. If the storm surge should go through the building, it would be a pervious surface rather than impervious. But this concrete is designed to break apart under hydraulic pressure.
But it's impervious. It's impervious. It will break under high pressure, but it's an impervious surface under the building. And our requirement was for no impervious under the structure.
Correct.
Can you had indicated previously that the slab needs to be removed. Bob, can you hear us?
I couldn't hear that. No, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I think if you keep the mics near you, that's another thing that's happened even when we had full staff here. So speak with a little bit more enunciation and into the mics, I suppose. So Bob, what Craig had asked you was you had indicated earlier that it should come out because it wasn't in compliance with the special condition G. And, special condition G would be dominant over any plans that were submitted because it would be conditioning any plans or activities in general. And so looking at special condition G, it says no concrete or other surfaces, as Chair Hannafin clearly pointed out. And Chair Hannafin further stated this is impervious. She was commenting to Attorney Fournier that the water would not, and except under strong pressure, would not break. Therefore, it's impervious. And that's not the intent of the activity that the commission can allow under Berry Beach Coastal Dune 310 CMR 10.29 and 310 CMR 10.28. And that's just what she's saying. And she was asking for your legal opinion on it.
Right. So before I was town council, I had this issue come up on a number of occasions. And I had clients that wanted to actually pave or add concrete below the base floor elevation of an elevated home, and sometimes in the commercial areas of Brant Rock, where there was coastal storm flowage and things like that. And the commission was always adamant that you couldn't finish that basement floor. And I proposed it on behalf of private applicants. And, when I saw this, that, immediately forced me to remember those circumstances where the commission that preceded you would similarly have that rule that you can't have any impervious areas. And from time to time, we have people that'll pave a driveway on a barrier beach, and we have to address that as they come as enforcement issues. When I wasn't there when this project was approved, but it was pretty obvious. Their project plans showed that 2-inch concrete mud floor, if that's what it's phrased in the plan. But when you look right down in the special supplemental conditions, it said you can't install that. So in my opinion, the correct way to interpret that would be everything that was approved in the plan is approved other than that issue or anything else that's enumerated as a supplemental general condition. What the commission decides to do is completely up to the commission on this particular issue. But there's a reason why those floor areas are not intended to be pervious, and this appears to have that effect. I don't take any issue with anything that the building commissioner has said about its compliance with the state building code. But I think, as Chair Hannafin said, this is a conservation issue, not a building code issue. And I don't know whether the building commissioner had a copy of the order of conditions and read them when this was permitted or not. But again, its compliance with the state building code is irrelevant to me as it relates to its compliance with the Wetlands Protection Act and our local wetland protection bylaw. Now, if the commission in its wisdom decides to allow this in, I think that's up to the commission. If you think that the applicant has made the case for a variance, I haven't heard that argument yet. Perhaps that'll be coming. But again, I think this is something that we try to guard against, because when and if flood water hits that area, it impacts properties that are abutting it, and it affects the ability of the land to absorb stormwater that gets into this particular area. And I realize that may not be a common occurrence, but it's at least an occurrence that the statistics say could happen. So I'd love to come up with a solution here that could work. But I think the intent of the decision and the intent of the special supplemental condition is pretty clear. No impervious surfaces there, and it went in anyways.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. Any commissioner comments or input?
That's the opinion of town council and the building commissioner. We've heard from both. What I see from the building commissioner is that it's reference to this floor is not used for structural or lateral support. Sounds like it's not a structural component, so it could be removed.
I can't hear any of that if that's relating to anything I said.
I'm gonna have to do something here and maybe try to get this over to you.
He's pointing out that it is not structurally necessary. If this were removed, the sono tubes would still, you would still have structural integrity to the building.
The microphones aren't working. It's just on that.
Craig is.
Oh, is mine working?
We're getting your stuff.
They're off, they're powered, but they're not receiving.
I think Craig was being heard though.
Bob, you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes.
Now, then get close to the mics, like I said earlier.
My point was the building commissioner's report was that the floor did not have structural lateral support, and that you've been pretty adamant that in the past the standard has been to not allow these floors. So I would say that's that's the direction we should go.
So I have a question. So the commission's stance is that this is not a pervious surface. But in Andrew Stewart's comments, he says, I'm gonna read it out, I'm gonna read this full sentence, but it's the second half that really matters. Mud slabs in particular are beneficial in that they provide a solid surface for easier access to the enclosure and improved drainage capabilities for the enclosure during and post flooding. And then this goes on to, but will break apart under extreme hydrostatic pressure from severe flooding and ground saturation without damaging the structural integrity or flood-proofing aspects of the foundation. So in this sentence, he's suggesting that it is pervious. It is pervious.
No, it's not pervious. It is impervious. He is suggesting that it assists in water washing over it, and that is exactly why we require impervious under these structures in Barrier Beach.
So just for everybody's edification, flood control and storm damage prevention, the property has to take its portion of absorbing the storm's force. That's essentially what's happening. And so the structure that's underneath, which is not going to comply with special condition G, will send it off to the neighbors ultimately. And that's what the whole thing is about. So it might be something that will break up under a strong wave or even some jackhammering or knocking it on with a hammer. But it does not comply with 310 CMR 10.29, 310 CMR 10.28. So it might not be the most forceful structure underneath, but it is not going to comply with conservation's concept of impervious.
Impervious would be an asphalt driveway, which would also be destroyed in a violent storm. Pervious would be a shell driveway, a sand driveway, a gravel driveway. We need to have that water infiltrate.
I'm just reading that as it's draining, that there's some disconnect between pervious and impervious here, and that's stated there. I'm not an engineer, but Andrew Stewart made the comment. I think it's worth considering.
It's letting water flow through.
And that's exactly what we're trying to prevent.
That's how I'm assuming that he meant, but that's not what he said here, right? If he said like it flows through, then we wouldn't have it. This wouldn't be a matter. I think there's some question there. Until we know it, I think there's an open question.
There is no open question, forgive me, that this is pervious. It's not pervious. It's a mud concrete slab. Water does not trickle through. Okay, anyone?
I'll have a question. So would that be a pre-disturbed area currently? Because it's, I mean, they already have sonic tubes there.
That doesn't apply here.
We'd have to go all the way back to when the house is built, et cetera, to get to that point. You and I are starting to have a nice chat about the possibility of existing structure and then building on that again, which we're going to be getting some refinement on that too. So I think they don't really have that. They don't have that argument here.
Well, I am prepared to go to a vote. Any other comments? Would Attorney Corning, would you like to make any additional comments?
Probably not at this point. These were all designed and approved by engineers, and I wish I could have my son write an affidavit because he has a bachelor's in engineering, 2 masters and a doctorate, and his specialty is fluid dynamics, water flow, and airflow. But because I'm late to, I can't use the proper. But I would really like to say that these are all in line with flood control measures that are legislated out there, approved, whatever. And I mean, no disrespect, but none of the board members are probably engineers, which means the engineers designing the project are probably more qualified to make this decision about the mud slab.
You're absolutely correct. Nobody here is an engineer, but we're not here to decide on engineering. We're here to decide that a special condition that required no impervious surface below that dwelling was not met. We are here to defend the Wetland Protection Act and our town bylaw. And we conditioned it that there was no impervious surface. There is no concrete slab or other structure that shall be constructed or placed on the grade beneath the dwelling. And yet there is.
So to add on to that, Attorney Fournier, we've gotten the building commissioner's comments, which were helpful, provided good value, but it doesn't blend in with the decision the commission is going to make ultimately. Town council took that into consideration too. So town council had the benefit of the building commissioner's comment, what the commission has said, the performance standards, his years of decades of wisdom on this. And he's basically said that short of a variance, there's no option. And I don't think you could do that in 310 CMR 10.29 Berry Beach, Coastal Dune 310 CMR 10.28. You show me where that hammers out, and then that's a different story. But it won't be, because this is a cover on the Berry Beach Coastal Dune. Commission can't allow that, and the condition specifically stated that. We can get around it by we can work with you. We start to come up with solutions, and we'll get the deed restriction on the other thing, and that'll resolve it. It could be done in a month or less. We just go down that road.
So, we need to vote on this?
What's your name, sir? I don't know if the chair was, I'm sorry about that. I overstepped.
I can't make an argument.
Wait.
My name's Liam Lowney. I'm the buyer of the property.
Mr. Lowney, could I ask a real quick question as a formality? So sorry. What is your address, please?
13 South Street,
Okay, and your last name is spelled how, sir?
Lowmey.
N-E-Y?
Yeah.
Carry on.
So I just wanted to note, I can't argue structures or pervious floors or not, but certainly I have a stake in it. And I just wanted to acknowledge that I'm here. Certainly have a vested interest in the outcome.
Sure, and I'm very sympathetic to that. But I just don't feel, personally, I don't feel we can allow that to stay. We need a vote, Bill?
Yeah, you would take a vote. Let's see, where are we?
We're nowhere because the
We are on page 4.
notes got.
Yeah, wait a minute. So
So.
we are actually somewhere. We would go to page 3 and
We have the.
everything you need right there. Go to, yeah, I did. So I see what happened. I do see what happened. I would suggest that you vote to table to allow the applicant to complete the request for additional information and a solution. The solution would be the deed restriction on special condition E, and that's very simple to do, and removal of the concrete slab or a portion of it. If they want to keep maybe a 2 foot by 2 foot or 3 foot by 3 foot wing around it, maybe the commission can be flexible in that perspective. I'm not sure if that's valuable or not.
Okay, so I'm going to move that we vote to table this to give the applicant and New Honor further time to explore possible solutions. May I have a second?
Second.
John O'Donnell,
Okay.
roll call.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Voted on, yes.
And Dave Good?
Yes.
And Susan Perry?
Okay, we didn't get that. Okay, you're muted, Susan. Susan, unmute, please.
Sorry, Susan, yes.
That's
And
okay.
Craig
6.
Hannafin, yes.
All right, thank you for a very
So
healthy
we will
debate.
Table this and give you more time.
Yeah, and I'll work with you, Mr. Fournier. If we just connect, I'll work through the steps with you.
Maybe your son can tell us how that can become pervious.
Okay, thank you.
I'll look forward to your call.
Okay, E4, 219 Ridge Road, the unpermitted fill. And there is no one here on this bill?
No, Patrick Doherty should be present.
Are we gonna table this?
No, Patrick Doherty is probably here. He's calling out right now.
I'm here.
Okay.
Patrick, can you give a rundown? That would help out the commission.
Sure. So I did a gut renovation on my property. I'm trying to think when it was, 17, maybe 2017 or maybe 2017 into 18. There was a old garage, kind of oversized shed on the property that had to be taken out actually as a condition of my loan. And I just was too focused, oversight on my part, just more focused on the house, but I took the shed down without without a permit. So this is, and what I'm trying to do now is just put in a 10 by 12 shed, slightly behind where the garage was, out of the flood zone. So just, the garage has already been removed. It was like 91 years old or something. So that's what I'm trying to do.
It came to us through a building permit. I can't remember if it was a floodplain permit or what, but we obviously review these. And we saw that there was an old permit. It's in 100 feet of the salt marsh. It's partially in the floodplain. He'd already demolished the garage. That's a betterment. I don't think the commission's going to find that to be anything difficult. Typically, you'd possibly consider this in 50 to 100 as an after the fact RDA or de minimis. Now we have. So it seems to me it's a betterment. He's going to put the shed, I believe, in the 50 to 100. 50 to 100. Okay, I believe it's in the 50 to 100, and it is going to go up on gravel, if I'm not mistaken. Correct, Patrick?
Correct.
Okay, so there you go. I think it's in the commission's capacity to consider this de minimis. If the commission feels that a further permit is recommended, I would not go further than the request or determination of applicability. However, he'll have to pay the $150 fee. He'll have to pay the legal ad. It'll get posted in the legal ad. It'll take time to get on the cycle. It might add a month. I think a de minimis activity is appropriate here.
So it's going on what was part of the footprint of.
Somewhat. It's overlapping at maybe, I don't know, 8%, say. It's not going over it much. Yes. Yeah, and it's across the street from the salt marsh. So there's a lot of construction that's gone on and pretty disturbed. So it's what happens in this environment. A lot of small houses very close to the salt marsh.
Well, unless anyone has further comments, I would move that we vote to approve an after the fact garage demolition, site prep, and construction of a shed as a de minimis activity with special conditions.
Unmute, so I'm gonna have to listen to that. Go ahead and try it again. Unmute your laptop, no sound. Good. I was just told we to do that, actually. Okay, we should be, Susan, can you hear us?
I can hear you now.
Please take a call. Chair Hannafin wants a call from you.
Did you hear the vote?
No, I didn't hear the vote. I heard you announce, yes, I did hear the vote. I didn't hear everybody's vote.
Okay, so
I heard your motion. I heard your motion. No, yes, Susan Karen, yes.
That's a 600, Chair
thank
Hannafin.
you.
Okay, very good.
Next up, 1159. Thank you, Mr. Doherty.
Thank you.
1159 Ferry Street. Driveway and pavers, de minimis versus request for amended orders of conditions. Is Mr. Murphy here? Sorry.
In person.
Okay, you had a septic repair.
Yeah, get a new septic installed.
And you want to explain what,
Sure. So it's a really small lot down Ferry Street. And as part of the design, the entire old driveway in front of the property is now a restored septic system. So 5 feet of septic sand was put in. From a foot to 3 feet of stone was put in. So basically the entire front property. Existing bituminous concrete driveway was taken off, and concrete pavers rated for permeable were installed with a permeable sand. So, yeah, total infiltration on the site.
I thought this was a great project to bring forward. It's another tiny lot that's over, no offense, but it's just small. Making tiny houses now, everybody loves them. You know how it goes. So, yeah, I'm trying to be positive. Okay. So, it had to have a septic system. It had to be mounted. It was going to have impacts on the neighbor. The neighbor was very involved. It was designed and engineered to put water 30% underneath the house and shed the rest off into the street to go into the storm drain. It's had some success on that. Some has backwashed. The neighbor will come back and they'll want help also at some point. But to Mr. Murphy's point, and I thought this was fabulous, was he's actually come up with some really great systems here to use pavers, undercoating, and also the material that's inside. So if with no further delay, if I can make this happen, I'm trying to see if I can share this. Yeah, I'm gonna try and share this and see if I get it run.
It goes in with a wet room that's connected to the house.
Is it gonna run or not? How do we get that bugger to run? Oh boy, so close, so far away. So you can see what's happening here. He's actually putting it on with a hose and a material that's very pervious. So it looks like it's a hard binder. Oh, it's not landing. It's on mine. That's right. All right, sorry about that. Let's go and see. Stop share, and then let's see if we can get that in there. So sorry. Share. It's had that.
Let me bring it an example.
Which we
I'm
can do.
curious.
Yeah. I can inspire that. Yeah, right. I told Bill.
I'm
So
sorry.
is that,
This is the actual material. So,
Put you at Zoom. Okay, stop the share.
so it's a bowl made out of the material you see the water is circulating. But it's
Yeah, that's the raw material.
yeah. This is nope, this is the raw material. The cavers are a type of block newly rated for permeable installation. Water goes right through the sand. It's falling on the driveways. It's going right, yeah. Yeah, I did a little video I sent to Bill, but.
Yeah, I guess it was playing, but I wasn't able to make it happen. So what he's done here is he's able to use a hose and he's actually able to distribute it into the cracks, separating the pavers. So what that means is when the rain comes, it's going to percolate down. So rather than directing it all off to the road and all off to the 30%, we just picked up a bunch of pervious materials. So unfortunately, it wasn't part of the permit. But this is a very good thing and a very advantageous opportunity for him to display the product, also to show that pervious can be done if we use the right materials. Then he told me this. He told me the town of Millis is actually giving tax breaks for people that move their material to pervious. Well, I just want that to be reminded when people are saying, we can't do this, I want it to be bound strong or whatever. We have the materials right now. We need also the flood control and the storm damage prevention of pervious, which is the last conversation. And it can be done. And Mr. Murphy here is actually proof point. And I'm sorry I didn't show the public a better job. I'm taking the heat on that one technically.
that's okay, we got to see that, that's
Yeah.
great. I'm ready for comments.
I've been watching this. I was a
Yeah.
kid officer. I had my doubts for a while.
Yeah, it was a hot mess all winter, right?
Yeah, but it looks a lot better now.
Yeah.
I would support this as a de minimis change to be captured on your as
That's why I want to use this so that it's another gator stone, but I didn't want it to wash out.
Right.
So this will bind. But instead of that chance.
We could really actually use a construction-oriented hybrid also session at some point. This is an example of what we've been trying to get to for 5-6 years. I really appreciate what you did. This is great.
Any additional comment? Hearing none, I move that we vote to approve the deviation, installation of a pervious paver system over the approved septic system under SE 422928 as a de minimis activity with special conditions. That's probably just
The basics.
the basics.
And special conditions apply, which are ensure best management practices are followed, obtain all subsequent permits, including Marshfield zoning board of appeals and building permits, and C, conservation administrator or agent for guidance on conservation permits for work beyond the approved work activities.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Birch.
Okay, Commissioner O'Donnell, Vice Chair.
Yes.
Dodge, Mr. Good.
Dave, good, yes.
Susan, Karen.
Yes.
Okay, you have a 600.
Craig Hanifin, yes. Thank you very much. Oh,
Yeah.
Thanks for the demo. That
So
was,
you're covered, and the minutes will carry you, and that will be your written deviation. So we have ever needed for everybody you ask. You got sort of a hot situation over there. You did it, and then your neighbor's gonna do some work also. So just be kind to each other and let's work it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mistake,
Take care, Mr. Murphy. Really appreciate you.
Thanks.
That's you coming over to help me out with the technical. I was like, good, thank you.
Okay, our final business item is 202 Moraine Street, review of the planning set determination of minimis versus requests for. This is the Sealand Corporation subdivision. Do we need this to be presented by someone?
Yeah, Mr. Sealand is here. This is the Red Gold Farm project. There's no show and tell because it's a 21 stage plan and you don't want to see that because the layers are all not interlocked, so it's not going to happen. Mr. Sealand is here and he'll take it away. He's quite capable.
Will just explain to us the changes. We're all familiar with the plan.
Right, so they're basically just housekeeping changes, things like changing the title block, changing some of the notes. I mean, I don't think we should go through all of them. I know Bill took a look through them.
The conservation stuff, I'll just give him a rundown if you don't mind. Is it okay if I augment? Let me know when you're ready, okay? And I'll take over. All right, so we went from a May 5 that the commission approved, 2022. The planning department had two meetings. They had a May 15th version and a final on May 19th, I believe, version. And then they had a June 6th version as well. And there is on your page 6, they're all detailed right there. The only thing that came up that's conservation oriented from May 5 to 19 was they moved the hatch on the riverfront on lots 10 and 11. No big thing because we had it already back on the back sheet. We had it all in detail, so not a worry. And then the other items that were on the May 19th to the June 6th were pretty much taking the Black Mountain Pond and saying from assumed riverine to probably riverine. Now that came out of a conversation with Karen Horn, Mr. Sealand, his son Brian, Bill Grafton, Joe Ring, and I don't know who else. Oh, the Grady Company was there as well. So we decided that on behalf of the commission. I think that you left that open. And then the concept of vernal pool was changed to potential vernal pool. It's not certified, but it's accepted and it's under the bylaw. So those are the primary things that came out on the various sheets, which are detailed on your write-ups.
We had a silt sock along Marine Street there.
Oh, okay.
You know,
A betterment.
where that water main construction is.
Okay.
So, everything else is really just title blocks, small things the planning board picked up on.
And was there something with using the
Yes.
storm drain?
Correct. It's a second motion. Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely correct, Chair Hamilton. Good memory on that. So for the new commissioners, this was a subdivision.
Separate vote.
Just quickly for them, it was a great subdivision effort. Kevin Sealand here led it. Conservation worked in tandem with the planning department. It's just come up with a great project. They were kind enough to give 110 acres over to the town. It's going to be under a conservation restriction, and the goal is to keep cranberry farming going on. It's a well-designed plan. We got many of the protective values without having to go through painful back and forth testing, certifications, et cetera. We all work together. Mr. Sealand's completely in for the town. You can tell that this project, Red Gold Farm, is a gold standard, and by my mind, of how to cooperate, work together as a town, and get the best outcome. And he's still going to make money.
All right. Unless someone has any comment, I move that we vote to approve the deviation to the June 6th plan as a de minimis activity. May I have a second? Commissioner Karen?
Yes. Susan, yes.
Yes. Commissioner Dodge?
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
Craig Hanifin, yes.
It's a 6-0, Chair Hannafin.
Okay, and then we additionally need I move that we vote to approve the special condition D1, mass CO2 requirement be moved to the D2 special conditions. May I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner O'Donnell,
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Dodge,
And Dodd, yes.
Commissioner Good,
Good, yes.
Commissioner Karen.
Susan Karen, yes.
And Chair
Craig
Hannafin,
Hanafin, yes.
600 Chair Hannafin. That will allow him to jive in with the sequencing because he can't get the Mass DOT until he starts the work. So then that naturally makes sense. I did something similar about erosion control and I moved that to the D2s also. So we take lessons from pragmatic approaches. Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank
Sealand.
you.
Have a great night. We'll talk some more.
Okay, continued hearings. 76 Carolyn Circle, SE 422950. I move that we vote to continue to the August 3rd, 2022 public meeting per the written request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second? Commissioner O'Donnell?
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell? Commissioner Dodge?
And Dodd.
Commissioner Good?
Yes.
Commissioner Karen?
Yes.
Craig Hanafin, yes.
600.
274 Foster Avenue, SC 422958. I move that we vote to continue to the August 17th, 2022 public meeting as per the written request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second? Commissioner O'Donnell,
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Yes.
Dodge, Mr. Good, and Commissioner Karen.
Yes.
And Craig Hanafin, yes.
600.
Okay. 1184 Ferry Street, SE 422987. I move that we go to continue to the August 3rd, 2022 public meeting for the written request of the applicant representative. May I have a second? Okay, Commissioner Good,
Okay, good, yes.
Commissioner Dodge,
And Dodd, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell, Commissioner O'Donnell,
Yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Susan Karen, yes.
Ray Hanafin, yes. And lastly, 1203, not lastly, 1203 Ferris Street, SE 422988. I move that we vote to continue to the August 3rd, 2022 public meeting as per the written request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second? And Commissioner Good,
Okay, good, yes.
Commissioner Dodge,
And Dodd, yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell,
Yes.
and Commissioner Karen.
Susan Karen, yes.
Craig Hanafin, yes. And lastly, 2205 Main Street, SE 422977. I move that we vote to continue to the August 17th, 2022 public meeting as per the written request of the applicant's representative. May I have a second? Commissioner Good,
And Dodd, yes.
and Dodge,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Donnell, Commissioner Karen,
All right, Susan Karen, yes.
and Craig Hanafin, yes.
Okay.
Okay,
So just before we roll on, Chair Hannafin, if there's anybody here for 2205 Main Street, it's continued, okay? I just want to make you aware of that.
All right. The first public hearing is new. I will read the legal ad. In compliance with regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection. The public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, July 20th, 2022, to consider the request for determination of applicability by Patrick Spellman of 769 Moraine Street, and the hearing officer is Vice Chair O'Donnell.
Confirm, fees are paid and the legal ad is ready.
Yes. Commissioners, just real quick, I just got a note, if you could please pull the mics closer to you. There's something wrong, we don't quite know, just that seems to be working.
Okay, hopefully this is better. Have we got somebody here to present this project?
Mr. Spellman.
Patrick Spellman, 769 Maroon Street.
Want to give a quick explanation of the project?
Yeah, we just want to enclose our backyard with a 6-foot-high PVC fence with a gate near the garage. We have a dog. We like to be able to let her out and run around the yard without going into the woods or the neighbor's yard. So some privacy and protection.
Very good.
wants to take this one? Bill?
Mike can go. We got the backlog too. I'll just give that note on that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I made the site visit on this one, and everything looked fairly straightforward. There are a few special conditions, and which we'd like to address if you'd like me to read out the special conditions.
Yeah, I don't know if this is a typo, but talking about the limit of work and pre-disturbed property.
So I can get that for you, Bert. That is me.
Yeah.
So what happened is before the Spellmans bought the property, there was a request for certificate of compliance, like you just had at 13 South Street. And this one had another interesting special condition. It said from the house backward 65 feet. You don't normally do that, but that's what they did. And they adopted that. It needs to be not mowed and not encroached on. So I called Mr. Spellman because I knew about that. Actually, I pressed the button, I think, when I stopped by. I forgot that Mike had gone.
Yeah.
And Mr. Spellman cleared that. But with one sense, he said, Bill, I'm respecting that ongoing condition. So I thought we just build that in. He's doing the job and he's putting up a fence. And, you know, the wetlands are starting to see a little bit of creep on the vines, et cetera, and those kind of things. So there is a fringe. But, you know, the intent of the 65 foot was going to work. And now we have it 60 foot. So this is actually a betterment with regards to distance.
So the fence is 60 foot off the back.
That's what he told me. Yeah.
Okay. I took a little bit today. I caught the rainstorm.
Yeah, that's what my wife said, yeah. Wasn't raining where I was, you said it was raining in my house.
Yeah, so that's good, and if you put that fence in, that means nothing goes behind the fence.
Right. Yep, no problem.
Any further discussion, questions? Any comments from the public? I see nothing. Make a motion to approve this RDA.
Page 9.
Be a positive determination number 5 for the bylaw and a negative number 2 for special conditions. Second? Second. Second.
It's Ken Dodge, got it.
Yeah.
You need a roll call vote, Bert.
We'll call vote. Susan Cowan?
Susan Karen, yes.
Dave?
Dave Good, yes.
Ken?
Ken Dodge, yes.
Greg?
Yes.
Bruno, yes. John O'Donnell, yes. Okay, Bill.
And you got yourself, Bert, correct?
Yes. I believe so.
Excellent. That's 600. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And there'll be special conditions on your cover letter just for you to keep in mind. And we appreciate you being good stewards. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right.
Okay, next up, 109 Monitor Road. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection. A public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, July 20th, to consider the request for determination of applicability filed by Lindsay McHugh for 109 Monitor Road. And the hearing officer. And I see Ms. McHugh, you are on Zoom.
I am.
Can you hear us all right?
I can.
Okay. So can you tell us, just briefly describe the project?
Sure. I'm proposing additional driveways in the front of my house at 109 Monitor Road using crushed stone and river rock.
And I was there, obviously, and I looked at it. So it's sort of where your driveway already is, and then you're going to come around the front of the house a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch the driveway that already exists. There's a driveway that's pre-existing,
Right.
and it'll be where there's grass. Right now there's a lawn that's there.
Right. Okay.
But yes, it comes to the left of the existing driveway, going across the front of the house.
And it's going to be permeable. It's going to be river rock or crushed stone.
Yeah, it'll be crushed stone underneath and then river rock on the top.
Okay. Oh, I failed to note that taxes and
Yes.
everything is, yes, okay. Any questions or comments from the commission? Anything from the public? Hearing none, I move that we vote to issue positive determination number 5 for the bylaw and negative number 2 with special conditions, which are standard. You want to
Yes.
read them off?
The standard special conditions will apply. Ensure best management practices and building codes are followed. Report commencing the work, obtain all pertinent permits, and see conservation administrator or agent for guidance on conservation permits for work beyond the approved work activities.
Okay, may I have a second?
Second.
Who's that, Dave? Good? Okay.
Good. Commissioner O'Donnell,
Yes.
Bert,
Yes.
Ken,
Ken Dodd, yes.
Dave,
Yes.
Susan,
Susan, yes.
and I'm a yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chu. Good luck.
Thank you.
In a lovely spot.
We love it there.
Yeah, I can see why.
Susan, I can't give you this one through the internet, but I wish I could. Yeah, there
I've
we
got
go.
them.
All right, no worries.
I'm good.
Is the legal
I got 2 screens.
in compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection. A public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, July 20th, 2022, to consider the after-the-fact request for determination of applicability filed by Dan Rose, and the hearing officer is Commissioner Karen.
Can I confirm the administrative requirements have been met? I don't have.
Yes, we have that covered. We got your legal ad, your taxes, and the fees were paid.
Okay, all right. So as Craig pointed out, it's a retaining wall, stair, and lawn repair, and a pervious paver footpath to be placed within Barrier Beach and land subject to coastal storm flowage, VE 13. So Bill, I know that you and both Michael have worked closely with the applicant, so would you like to present?
Yeah, I'll just do it briefly with Mike, and we'll just back up Mr. Rose, who's here. We got a complaint, and we went down, and he was like, "You mean I need a permit for this?" It's pretty straightforward. I'm like, "Yeah, unfortunately, you do." And so we had a nice chat with him, Mike and I, and we explained that we could probably get him in front of the commission in a relatively short period of time and try to get him back on schedule so he could get back to what he was doing. He's basically taking his previous lawn, and he's just upgrading it, equivalent of putting loam down, but it's an alteration. He changed out his retaining wall from wood to stone. Okay, not that big a deal. He's going to put a new path. We just said make it a cross section. We wanted to see that it's pervious. Had a couple stairs he was working on, and he had a path in the back. Pretty straightforward. And he's here for to talk to us about his RDA. And if you want to just explain a little bit more on what you're trying to do and how long you've been there and all that stuff would be great. Yeah.
I've lived there 32 years. I basically had a retaining stone, wood timbers in the front. And I just basically swapping them out. They're old. I just took them out and I'm just going to replace that with stone. I'm doing some stair repair. I have a porch in the front. Stair repair there. I'm going to add on another set of stairs. Walkway in front of the stairs. I'm just going to saw it down after everything's done, and I have a walkway out back that is going to be constructed the same way the stairs in front of us.
Okay, there may be some additional permitting. We got comments from the building commissioner. You're in a floodplain, so there's maybe a floodplain permit. That would mostly affect the stairs, I would think. And you've been talking to them, so you know what to do.
Right, the stairs would come, the landscaping will be done first, and the stairs will be done by someone different, and I think we've already started that process.
So that's great. And he said building permit would be required. That when you have the stairs, you have that.
Right.
And that's a timing issue. So get on that. You've already started it.
Yes.
So what we did is we met with Mr. Rose. We had a delightful conversation with him, except we had to stop him. That's the only bad part about it. And we said we can move this forward. And we basically married up the two departments, got him down to building at the same time he was working with us. And I think the same day you came in.
Yes.
Mike turned your report around pretty quick. Mike, do you have any comments on this? And otherwise, really
That was a fairly straightforward project, minus the fact that we had to interrupt the work. And I see no issues with this project.
I have no concerns about this project at this point, as long as the other permits are obtained. Do commissioners have any comments, questions? Is anyone on Zoom or in the public that may have comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, what I will do is I would like to close out this hearing with approve this activity with a positive determination number 5 for the bylaw and a -2 for the -2 with special conditions. Do we need to address any of those, or are they
Mike, you can just read them off because for the record, because
for the record?
pretty straightforward, and that way about the obtain the permits is all known.
The standard special conditions apply, ensure best management practices and building codes are followed before commencing the work, obtain all pertinent permits, and see the conservation administrator or agent for guidance on conservation permits for work beyond the approved work activities.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Okay, great. Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Chair Hannafin.
All in favor? Oh, we have to do a roll call vote.
What you do?
Okay, Chair Hannafin,
Yes.
Vice Chair O'Donnell,
Oh, yes.
and
Oh, yes.
okay, and some of the new folks I haven't even
You
met yet.
just did that for you. John O'Donnell,
Okay, you're good.
he announced his name for the record and said yes. Ken
Okay,
Dodge announced his name and said yes.
thank you.
David Good announced his name and said yes. You just have to rec yourself and you have a.
Yes, Susan Karen, yes. Thank you for the help. I
No
can't
worries.
see people, so okay, great. Thank you.
We apologize
We're
for
all
the
set.
technical difficulties that I seem to be causing. Very good.
All right, thank you.
Now, can I continue tomorrow now, or do I have to come in and get?
I think the work, go down and just see them, and the work in the field, the lawn. We don't have a problem with the retaining wall. I don't have his comments in front of us right now on the retaining wall. The stairs, I think you spoke to the building inspector, so you got that going. I think you can start in the back. Doesn't hurt to come in and start saying, these are the things I want to peel off and I want to start them now because we're done.
So the wall and the walk I can continue on, but I have to come in tomorrow and get the permits for that, or?
So what I would do is go in, we're going to get you a permit. And we're going to try to turn that around tomorrow. It's called the determination of applicability.
Okay.
And if there are any building permits, then we'll layer into that very
Right.
quickly. I don't remember seeing yours in the system, but if it is, then I'll sign off on it or Michael sign off on it with our own determination. So that's done. And then the building department can go through their own review. If there is anything, go ahead.
If I may add.
Yeah.
According to the building commissioner, Andrew Stewart, he indicated that the egress in the front of your house, that stairs will require. So you'll have to go through.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is the landscaping that I've already started.
We're good with that. I don't think he has an issue with that.
I can continue that tomorrow.
We're good with that.
We'll get you your permit first thing in the morning.
Okay, so I'll be in tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll email it to you. Just come on down. We get going early, and this will be one of the ones we feel bad that you got this situation. Sorry about that.
No, as long as it's all.
And I just got to say this for the record, Mr. Rose is, it was a shock to him, but then he immediately adapted to it. And he's just been nothing but just responsive and eager to try to get this done and do the right thing. And God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, great. Thanks a lot.
You have a good one. Take care of
I'll
yourself.
be in touch, all right?
Manana, all right.
Okay, next up is the town of Marshfield on Cornhill Lane.
Right.
In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, July 20th, to consider the request for determination of applicability filed by the town of Marshfield regarding pre-work on Cornhill Lane. And I am the hearing officer. Because this is town-owned land, we don't have taxes and other administrative requirements. So I see Karen McCardle here. Do you want to discuss this? Bill, do you want to?
Well, John Zimmer is also here.
Oh,
So
John.
we have two applicants. We have Mike Moresco and Karen McGardle. The town is doing the project, but it's joined, as we know, as a shared project with the neighborhood. They have a significant problem over there. John, it was hired by the town on behalf of the project, and I'd let him go first.
No, last question, my question goes, seeing her hand right now, you already see it. When was the last time you saw this? I noticed like forever ago.
Yeah.
So,
In my pile of break.
In October of last year, when we had that significant storm come through, we did have a significant oak tree basically come across Cornhill Lane, knock out power. So the town looked at the trees basically along the conservation property, which extends from about 152 to 235 Cornhill Lane, about 900 feet.
Did an evaluation and identified about 20 to 25 potential hazard trees that had the potential to come down across the roadway during significant storm event. So the town contracted me to go out, walk the area, identify and delineate any wetland resource areas that may be within the property, which I did. And several of the identified either so that necessitated filing with the RDA with the town. The work to be done is basically removing the brush and vines that they can. If you've been up in the area, you can notice that the common greenbrier and bittersweet and all the other vines are starting to go up and choke the trees. And then to stage the equipment from Thornhill Lane, basically reach in, cut the trees, take them out, and remove them from the property. I don't believe that there'll be any stump removal. So there's a stone wall that runs along the edge. So there's very minimal potential for earth disturbance associated with it. You know, the only thing you may have some of the workers going in to do some of the handwork that's required in there. But all of it will be staged right on the road to be able to remove the trees. And then there's replanting of native vegetation. You know, basically wetland species for species that thrive in the buffer zone, such as hyperberry, sweet bush, just to do as much as you can to mitigate the mineral base. The trees 1 to 1 species get some high wildlife vegetation back there. That's about the size of it. You know, if you're happy with Mike for Aaron adding.
Yeah, I get comments from Chair Hanifin, from Mike, and from Karen McGarl. This is a significant catalyst for the tree policy, which I want to share with you and Bert later. So this is a significant opportunity here. I'd let them both speak.
Mr. Moresco, do you have any comments?
Madam Chair, thank you, and to you, to the committee. I think this is a great partnership with conservation and the town to make sure that we're proper stewards of our conservation land. A lot of the conservation land is in local neighborhoods. People love the idea of the conservation land being there, and they know the important significance of it. But over the years, we've had numbers of trees come down, and I think that, you know, we as a town need to step up and work with the neighbors within those neighborhoods and come up with a program and a funding source to be able to clean those trees and make sure that we keep our conservation land looking the way it should, and not having so many trees that are down that it's unsightly, and it's in some instances it's a safety issue. So thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anything, Karen, or you?
Karen, could you just identify yourself and give a little brief on this, how we got down this road? I might add it in too, because I'm pretty fired up about this project, actually.
Karen McCardle, resident of Thornhill Lane, daughter of people by fallen trees and concerned citizen. So just frustration got me there.
So Karen found me in just that kind of state, and looked at the trees, and I said, it's going to be tough. So we bonded with Mike, bonded with the commission, and tried to get the other department, which is a little overwhelmed after the storms, et cetera, and they're not able to participate at the time. So we created a joint project with the town and Karen and the neighborhood. And we came up with a 3-phase project like John was talking about, which was ground cover, clear that so that the tree companies can come in. They're hired by the town and by the partnership. It's a rare and unique opportunity for this to happen. And we're going to bring the neighborhood together on the volunteer end of it, maybe some commissioners, get the professionals in and knock the trees down. And then we will go in and transplant from other town properties, such as the airport, if they'll let us, such as the Eversource transmission lines, if they'll let us, and also from our other properties, which are rife with plants. This would be a great location to replant. So anybody wants to find out what it's like to do the right thing, this is a great opportunity. And every one of these trees you go down, one of them has like 6 feet of sheer rot. It's just a matter of time before it gets knocked over and takes out the lines, and you have a repeat of what happened in that October storm. And that's the story.
Okay. Any commissioner comments?
No, you voted to allow the work on the conservation land, and you voted that an RDA was required also. This is the RDA in fulfillment of that second motion.
Any public comment? Hearing none, I move that we vote to issue positive determination 5 for the bylaw and -2 with special conditions. Want to read the conditions, Mike?
The standard special conditions apply, which are as follows: ensure best management practices and building codes are followed before commencing the work, obtain all pertinent permits, see conservation administrator or agent for guidance on conservation permits for work beyond the approved work activities, and also leave the roots in the ground, cutting the tree at appropriate heights, 4 feet.
May I have a second?
Bert O'Donnell.
Commissioner Farren?
Susan Karen, yes.
Dave? Ken?
Yes.
Vice Chair?
Yes.
And John?
Yes.
Craig Hannafin, yes.
Okay.
I want to thank everybody involved with this. I want to thank you, Karen, for the outcome of your frustration. It's going to be good for everyone. Thank you very much, Mr. Marasco, for being part of this effort. And I think we're ready to move forward, finally.
We are, and I think just as a last closing statement, now that we've got the permitting and the permission of the commission, we have to assemble a volunteer team. So I'll be reaching out to a lot of people in your neighborhood. And then in addition to that, we have to coordinate the contracting. I have the crane already. We have 3 other elements. I need a tree climber, a chipper, and I need somebody to haul away. The other day in a department head meeting, Tom Reynolds said you can use our facilities to get rid of the trees. So that's going to help out a lot. Thank you, Tom Reynolds and DPW. Last thing is the trees will get dropped. And then come October, maybe we do some tree planting. There'll be some shrub planting with plants. We just need to coordinate. I've seen the locations with goodwill. We can make that happen with commissioners showing up, digging in a shovel here and there. I think we can make this work. This is a rare and unique circumstance. This will not happen every day. I want to make that crystal clear. It's because the neighborhood is volunteering, because the neighborhood is contributing a match to what the town is doing, that we've done this, and because the other department was not able to manage it on its own.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, board.
Okay, next up, we have Bill.
Yeah, we definitely.
In compliance with regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, July 20th, to consider the after-the-fact request for determination of applicability, excuse me, filed by the town of Marshfield concerning the property at 172 South River Street, Marshfield, and I am the hearing officer. Once again, we do not have taxes or administration, as this is town-owned property. And this is concerning the after-fact demolition of the home and barn on the Pratt property. So, we have someone, John, you're up again?
Yes, I am. Again, John Zimmer, on behalf of Town Marshfield. Mr. Maresco remains with us as well. This one has a little bit of history to it. The Pratt Farm conservation land was bought 10 years ago now, maybe a little bit more. The Pratt homestead was removed around 2018, and then the barn was removed in 2022. If you're not familiar with Pratt Farm property, South River Street, right after you take the right from Middle Street, coming out from the center. And so those 2 buildings were demolished, and the barn was left, basically as a refile. And the commission issued an emergency certification in May of this year to remove the refile because it was determined to be a public safety by the Marshfield Facilities Director. That decision was appealed to DEP. DEP upheld the commission's decision, but then required that an after-the-fact
RDA be submitted along with delineation of the rest of the resource areas. Property vicinity of where the homestead and and like everything in the field, there is a perennial stream which is tributary to South River that runs along the side of the property. And there are 2 areas of DPW associated with that within 100 feet of the former house and barn. And then there's an isolated wetland basically within the circular driveway coming in and out off of South River Street. So you have 100-foot buffer zone to isolated and bordering vegetated wetlands. You have 200-foot riverfront area, and you also have land subject to storm flowage. So the work obviously has been done. The access to the property is blocked off right now, so the public can only get access at 5 foot right now. And what the town would like to do is basically create that area so it's again accessible for the public. Potentially do some additional grading in the area that was disturbed to create a parking area, put in some topsoil and grass in areas that won't be used. And then potentially put in permanent coastal conservation markers along 25 foot, no disturb. And then there's also some signs that associated with the Pratt homestead that we'd like to get reestablished as well to document the presence of the historic structure. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. If Mr. Moresco has some additional comments, be happy to hear.
Mr. Moresco, would you like to say anything?
Madam Chair, thank you. Through you to the committee, I just want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Mr. Zimmer, to Mr. Grafton. The town, we had this beautiful piece of property. A few years ago, the house came down, and most recently, the barn had to come down. And we wanted to clean up the whole area. As Mr. Zimmer mentioned and Mr. Grafton had mentioned, before the DPW was kind enough to put some granite curbing and some other stuff there to keep people from driving in. We're trying to clean the place up, and people are going in there and dropping off awnings and trash and everything else. So I had spoken to Bill Grafton. We had a meeting out there, and we wanted to get the site cleaned up, and that's why we are here. The barn is down to protect people. Kids have been going in there and setting fires and creating all kinds of mischief. I think our facilities director, Fred Russell, had to be out there just about every week with the board up company, constantly boarding up windows or doorways. So we have it cleaned up. I think eventually it'll be turned into a beautiful spot as part of the Pratt Farm and the walk along the river for families to come and maybe have a picnic area or something like that. So we're moving forward, and we hope to get the after the fact. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Moresco. I would just like to point out that your narrative includes additional grading and establishment of a parking area within that area. I'm not sure that that is something that we wanted to see. I know Susan has been very involved with this, and we can establish this going forward, but I believe there was something of a consensus that the Willow Street entrance would be the only vehicular entrance. Karen, Susan, do you?
I just, my concern is that we'll have to address those issues and for future uses of the property in a different setting, and it would have to come before the commission under a different separate permit, because that would be complicated given all the wetland delineations over there, the resource areas. That would have to be a separate permit, and there'll be different people that want to have a say in what happens over there, the recreational trails, open space, perhaps others. So that's my only concern, is that this is involving, like any further future projects or impacts would have, in my opinion, require a separate filing.
Can I just do a close on this? So the great thing about this is we finally got that isolated vegetative wetland completely delineated and the missing elements. So if a group of people came together, such as Recreation Trails, Open Space, Concom, and of course the Select Board, which has care and custody under that property, and Wildlands Trust, which has a conservation restriction, that kind of cooperation would be needed. However, thank you for paving the way. That was the intent of some. There were conversations in the field. There were some second thoughts. So we're kind of in limbo on that, but that's all healthy. The town wants to do what the town thinks is right for the town's properties, and those are the entities we need to work together. This is also great because the building commissioner will now be able to get his permit that he needs to close out the building permit and address the floodplain matters that are there, because the property is also located in the floodplain. So everybody's a winner on this one. It's great cooperation, and we had a little bump in there. We got beyond it, and here we are. So let's stay positive on it, and we won't be doing anything other than us closing this one out and being glad that we have a wetland delineation for the future use.
Yes, this is all for the after the fact work, and I agree with that 100%. I also agree with what Craig said about we want to look closely at whether or not there's a parking there. You know, the town paid money to create a parking spot on Willow Street.
Yeah.
That's in existence. I've never seen that parking lot full. So I think at this point, we can sit on that.
Duly noted.
Any other commissioner comment? Any public comment? Okay, that being the case, I move that we vote to issue a positive determination 5 for the bylaw and negative determination 2 with special conditions. Michael?
The special conditions are as follows. Within 30 days, obtain all pertinent permits, and see conservation administrator or agent for guidance on conservation permits for work beyond the approved work activities.
May I have a second?
Second.
Susan?
Susan Karen, yes.
Dave?
Dave Good, yes.
Ken?
Ken Dodge, yes.
Yes.
And John?
John O'Donnell, yes.
And Craig Hannafin, yes.
Great work, everybody.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Madam Chair, just with all due respect, may I make a statement on the next 4?
Yes.
Okay. There are 4 properties coming up that do not have DEP numbers. I would respectfully request that the commission consider waiving its tradition of not hearing those. There seems to be a stoppage with the technical department. We won't say who, down in Lakeville. In the case of 3 of the properties under Stenbeck and Taylor, we know that their checks are clear. They provided those to us, and they contacted me and spoke to me. They've been trying to get in touch with the technical department to clear that through. So respectfully, I would suggest that these be heard. Maybe they can't be closed, but it would set them up for either procedural continuation, or if you have additional information that they need to provide, it also provides them with that. And then we don't waste their time. They did make every effort. The town doesn't have fees, so we didn't apply, but the technical did not come back. And I would suggest that we don't stop at this point in time. And furthermore, certain permits need to be going forward, and we need to communicate a message that they need to be getting back to the building department for floodplain permit, ZBA also, and building, so we can kind of get that coalesced, because we're supposed to be a clearinghouse in a little bit manner right now as people get familiar with this project of the floodplain permit and other permits in general.
Okay. And next we have Ocean Street. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, July 20th, to consider the after-the-fact notice of intent filed by the Town of Marshfield at 1837 Ocean Street, and the hearing officer is Commissioner Farren.
Okay, the taxes and fees are waived on this because it's town property. Basically, this is an after-the-fact NOI for the installation of an emergency generator within 200 feet, the 200-foot riverfront area associated with a perennial tributary to the South River. And I know John is there. I can't see him, but I hear him. And I'm wondering if are you going to present this, John?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
John Zimmer on behalf of the town of Marshfield. Mr. Rusco is here as well. When the town of Marshfield police station was decommissioned, it made available 125 kilowatt diesel fuel generator, which was subsequently moved over to the Library Plaza property. If you're familiar with the library, as you're going down the right side with Staff Park, there's a gravel parking area behind that. They tucked it in basically alongside the building in that gravel area. I'm not sure if they did know that it was within 200 feet of the perennial stream. It's hard to pick up this fence there. Unless you know it's there, you might not, you might just pass by. But anyways, it was identified within that 200-foot riverfront area. I did go out and delineate the portion of the inland bank associated with the stream in closest proximity to where the generator currently sits. There's no BBW associated with it. It's basically a straight bank, and then it goes to upland. So no other resource areas aside from inland bank and riverfront area. There is some land subject to coastal storm fluid within the property, but doesn't come up in the area where the generator currently sits. The location of the generator is required because it needs to be closest to the electric panel and to be able to tie it into the library's current electric system. So the alternatives were pretty limited to where you could actually put it. And you couldn't really put it on the far side of the library because it would be basically furthest away from where the electric facilities are now, plus it would be basically right adjacent to the existing parking area between the playground and the library. In speaking with Bill, there are a couple things that we need to address for it. Right now, it basically just sits on a gravel pad. So we did speak with the facilities director about actually lifting the generator up, putting it onto a concrete pad, and just basically for potential, spill prevention control. We are going to be providing an SPCC plan as well. I believe that DPW has a good example to go by. We don't anticipate refueling to be very often, maybe once a year, depending on the use. All things considered, hopefully the use will be pretty limited. We did also include conservation posts within 25 feet of the inland bank associated with the stream and put down some New England erosion control mix or other seed mix to promote some native vegetation in there. Right now it's kind of scrub vegetation is associated with certain conditions, so to hopefully make that area a little bit better, so a little bit better functioning buffer to the stream.
Mr. Marithko, would you like to add anything since you're the applicant once again?
You're muted, Mike.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Commissioner Karen, thank you. Just very quickly, I won't get into the technical. I want to thank Mr. Zimmer for doing that, and I know that Fred Russell, our facility director, will make sure that we're in compliance with everything that needs to be done. I just want to speak to the importance and the necessity of having the generator there. As folks know, we're in a major heat crisis right now. I'm using the library as a cooling center, the senior center, and other buildings. The library and Library Plaza doesn't have a generator. We were able to, as Mr. Zimmer mentioned, we were able to take the generator from the old police department and repurpose it there. And I think it's important that Library Plaza have that generator, and we, as a town, part of the town, want to do everything necessary to make sure that we're protecting the environment while, putting the generator there so that the building will be able to act as a cooling and a heating center and have the necessary power during those storms or during those massive heat waves. So thank you, Commissioner Karen, and thank you to the commission.
Thank you.
Chair Karen, Commissioner Karen, how are you?
Don't promote me.
Yeah, well, you're open space, so I got confused. Could I just chime in a little about this great project?
Yes.
Okay. So in addition to that, it's an NOI, so it needs a look from the stormwater component. So we actually were able to bring in the town engineer to look at the 8 standards, which are typical, and he reviewed it, and that's how we came up with the pad idea, which The fire department also agreed that was a good idea for the dispensing purposes. And also myself, I have a little bit of environmental background. We were never worried about the tank leak because it's double walled and it's a small amount of fuel. However, it's the dispensing component of it. And Tom Corbo, the deputy fire chief, had commented that it's so small, it's going to have limited use. You're going to be doing it very rarely, so you aren't going to have a lot of dispensing, but better safe than sorry. So Rod came up with some ideas. We will need the illicit discharge form, which the party who's in charge of the property would sign off. It's very simple. It's, you're taking responsibility for any discharge. And the conservation markers, we could put that into the DO special conditions because this project has started. The conservation, the concrete pad, would like to see that, and the illicit discharge and the spill prevention contamination containment plan within 90 days, 30 days of issuance of these orders and conditions. However, unfortunately, they can't close tonight because they don't have a Mass DEP number. So you're sort of in that position. I thought this was a fabulous effort. Conservation participated. John Zimmer participated. Mike Moresco participated. Town engineer from DPW participated. Fred Russell was active with this, and the fire department. Everybody's really pitching in. And I thought this was a very effective system of getting this permitted. So we treat everybody like everybody. And we have some larger one of these going on at the airport and the Green Harbor Marina. And so this fits in line with that. So this is good. This is a solid permit here.
Great. Thank you, Bill. Any questions or concerns from the commissioners?
I just want to note that the building commissioner has noted it will require a gas permit and an electrical permit, which clearly will be taken care of by the facilities people.
That is correct.
Anybody from the audience or on Zoom that would like to comment? Okay, well, seeing that, I will, it looks like, Bill, what we'll do is continue to a date certain. Do we?
I would say the next hearing. I think the technical will work itself through within the next cycle.
Okay, so what is the date of that?
It's August 3rd. Sorry for not putting that there.
Well, that's okay.
2022.
All right, so I'll make a motion to continue this hearing to August 3rd, 2022, to allow time for the receipt of the building commissioner's comments on substantial and for the applicant to respond to the commission's request for additional information.
I'm gonna tell you I made an error there.
Yeah, I know. I'm seeing that.
I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna edit that for you. Sorry about that.
Comments on.
With your permission, I'll read the
please
motion. Continue to, the commission will continue to 8/3/2022 to allow time for Mass DEP to generate a DEP wetlands protection file notification number. That's all we're waiting for.
Okay, great. Do I have a second?
Second.
Let's see, Craig Hannafin. Oh, Craig Hannafin again?
Yes.
And Bert O'Donnell.
Oh, yes.
Mr. I don't know first names yet. I'm sorry. Mr. O'Connell.
Mr. O'Donnell.
O'Donnell. I'm sorry. Another Mr. O'Donnell, number 2.
Mr. Dodge.
Someone help me out here with the roll call vote because I can't see names.
Yeah, I apologize about that. I don't know what's going on. I don't dare touch anything right now. Mr. Dodge.
Ken Dodge, yes.
And Mr. Good.
Dave Good, yes.
Okay, so you and then yourself, Susan.
Susan Karen, yes.
You now have a 6-0. Congratulations.
Okay, great. Thank you for your help. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, roll call vote. Okay.
Next up, 16 Wilson Road. In compliance with regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection. The public hearing will be by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, July 20th. To consider the notice of intent filed by Angela the Circle, 16 Wilson Road, Marshfield, and the hearing officer is Vice Chair O'Donnell.
Okay, confirm taxes, fees, and abutters notified.
Yes, all that has happened. We do not have a Mass DEP number for the same reason I cited earlier.
Okay, we'll proceed.
Exactly.
Excellent. Good evening, everybody. Richard Savant, presenting for the circus. Essentially, I have a single-family addition on this existing single-family house. You have some resource areas over the other, the DPW on the back, within a 100-foot buffer out. Flood zone, of course, and DE 9, and also on Berry Beach. See off the rear of the house, we're proposing a 20 by 8 addition with crawl space there, subject to proper flood venting. For the requirements of the flood zone. Other on sonotubes, which is in the back left corner of the house, approximately 20 by about 8 feet roughly. And a new access lane on the driveway side of that house. We're exposing the silt top there. Showing the impervious table, it is showing some increase because of the new roof area, of course, 644 square feet increase in impervious area. Applied to the zoning board of appeals to work with them on the foundation types comply, which we haven't consulted with the building department, but hearing is until August 9th. So that's what we're going to do. Small addition up the back of the home. And those are the issues that are up. So I'll do my best to answer any questions you might have.
I got it. I went and did the site visit. The wetland line looks fine. It's an isolated vegetated wetland based upon another project that Vercirca had at a different property, and it's a new fresh line. I found, I think 5 out of 6 of the flags. We only needed 3. I found all 3 of those that were pertinent to this project. So there's a buffer zone that overlaps the work area. It's in the floodplain, Berry Beach, Coastal Dune. And so I did talk to the Vercircas. They were heading out to a baseball game. It was nice to see them and pepped up for the game. And I'm looking forward to the project. I did mention that I noticed that this smaller 8 by 10 addition is on sonotubes, and the rest of it's on a foundation in Berry Beach Coastal Dune. So I asked about that, and I said, did you get an opinion from the building commissioner about substantial? We need a determination, improvement determination. So what's eked out between the building commissioner, Chair Hannafin, and I over the last, say, 96 hours or so, we really need to be reiterating that you need to go to the floodplain permanently in the floodplain earlier. So you get that established, you get that pathway going. Also, under 310 CMR 10.05, you need to be seeking all pertinent permits. Now, here's a lucky kind of situation where, you're getting to talk to the commission. Commission's being forgiving about not having the DEP number. Get those other permits going, okay? So we reconfirm that, yeah, okay. So we want to have all of those going, and we're going to need to find out if that back is going to be substantial, because if it's substantial, then that might change things. And it might either have to go up on piles, as you know, or the whole house has to go up because you're in a Berry Beach Coastal Dune. That will be the provisions of the commission, building commissioner, and we're not really in charge of that, but that needs to be cleared out. So for the new commissioners, Commissioner O'Donnell, Commissioner Dodge, Commissioner Good, there's a thing called building matrix. It overlaps 310 CMR with 780 CMR, which I'll show you in time. And it has pertinence in floodplain environments with Berry Beach Coastal Dune, and we'll get to that later. So we do need that important feedback from the building commissioner. He told Chair Hannafin and I, this is the pathway, and that's why we're trying to restore it right now. This is a first, and we're all trying to work together.
So you've obviously been to building and also, have you discussed the floodplain permit?
Yes, we have. Yes.
So Bill, it's standard practice now.
Yeah. So we have kind of a we're going to have to all work together, and I think that Andrew mentioned that in his email to Craig and I, and we got to work with that and try to realign that. Everybody has to work together to get that established. There could be a document out there that, since this change is happening, which all departments participate in, and that document could more clearly state what you need to do. If in floodplain, boom, this is your pathway. If not in floodplain, then do it this way. And if you have conservation, I know we have something like that, but maybe it's time to rechange that or make changes, because now we have the floodplain permit taking such a important role within regards to this town. I mean, Marshfield's a great town, but many of the portions of it are a lot like New Orleans. They're overwhelmed by floodplains. It's just the way it is. So, but someone we need to progressively be reminding all the applicants of, and I would strongly urge the commission does not close any hearings until all evidence of all obtainable permits have been presented to the commission's satisfaction. If we miss something as a commission, the commission misses something, so be it, and moves on. But that is not the regular practice. This is the best way to go forward. We're all learning this now, so everybody's new.
Okay, so based on the further input we need, I have no further questions. I'd like to open up to In that case, open up to the public. Any public comments? I see none. I'd like to make a motion to continue. You want to use the same verbiage as the last one? Joe, or-
Yeah, I think I should do that. So continue to 8/3/2020 to allow time for the Mass DEP to generate a wetlands protection file number.
And you said you're not in front of ZBA
Until the 9th, I actually do have a meeting with Andrew to review this floodplain permit and just to walk us through the process. Public guys from the office gotta go through that hopefully tomorrow.
Well, 310 Seymour 1005 only requires them to be seeking or applying
Have
for.
applied.
So it doesn't mean they have to be complete.
Yes.
See where you come out.
Excellent.
Right, just line that up and then get the evidence, whatever that's gonna mean. I'm not sure if they give you like a receipt or whatever, or stamp on the hand. We need to figure it out.
I think that
Yeah.
we can figure it out.
Okay, well done. So Bert, you got a second?
Sorry. Did you want to read what?
Oh, I did. I thought I did. Okay. Continue to, the commission will continue to 8/3/2022 to allow time for Mass DEP to generate a WPA file notification number.
John O'Donnell, second.
Second, John O'Donnell.
Roll call vote. John?
Aye.
Right?
Aye.
Ken?
Ken does that.
Dave?
Yes.
Susan?
Susan, yes.
Earl O'Donnell, yes.
That's a 6-0, Mr. Vice Chair. All right, we got that covered. All right, you're on fire there, Rick. Okay.
Who's hearing officer on the next?
Rick's got the next two for Joe.
It was Joe.
The other two are for, yeah. Sarni, is that right?
Yeah.
Good.
17 West Street.
See you later. Take care, Mr. Rick. You're good.
In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, July 20th, to consider the notice of intent filed by George Sarni for 17 West Street, Marshfield, and the hearing officer is Vice Chair O'Donnell.
Okay, and once again, we don't have the DEP number, but we're going to waive that.
Right.
Taxes paid and
Yes, they all have been, the taxes are paid, the butters are notified, and legal ad was posted, checks for all the fees have been handled, just waiting on the, on the DEP number.
Yes, they're preventing for the Simonese. I'm not sure if they're At any rate.
Do you want it up on the screen, or I can try?
Sure.
All right, bear with me, you know how it goes.
Yep. So
Taking a
we have
risk.
an existing home there. It's a raise and rebuild project. I don't think we've had a chance to define that place. But they're proposing to raise that house and build a new flood compliant home there. This property has a DBW that wraps around the back and the southerly side of the property, as you can see on the plan. Also located in the 89 flood zone. In this case, it's not in the very beach, but it is in the flood zone. So the foundation type is a poured concrete foundation with proper flood venting, which we believe is adequate for this zone. We've also applied for all the other necessary permits and floodplain and all that stuff applies to this also. We're proposing to remove the existing paved driveway and convert it to a shell or a stone. I haven't decided on which, but it'll be one of the two, certainly a pervious situation. So in doing so, even though the new house is slightly larger, it's only 340 feet larger than what's there, the decks and the porches. Removing the pavement gives us a 50 square foot decrease in impervious area by doing that. We're matching our setback to the wetland, not getting any closer. It is improved in the rear a little bit, but on the side, on the left side of the house, if you're on the street facing it, we're essentially matching that setback to the wetlands that's there. So it's a very tight lot, as you know. We don't really have any room to move the house. It's kind of utilizing as much of the existing footprint as possible. So crawl space underneath is going to be just a crawl, no storage under there. I'm sure, when we get to that point, we'll condition it. I don't know if we're still with the 3'10" bill.
No, we don't do that. We do is we go to, just so the new commissioners understand. So we moved away from those absolute conditions because you can see what they do. And we've made FEMA firm regulations so we can stay current. If they change, which they do every 4 years or so, the thing can get modernized. It makes sense to do it that way. So we've taken that absolute condition out, put it back where it belongs to the building department. The codes are there now. They're working better. So we don't need the absolute special conditions. That's a thing of the past.
So overall, house is beyond the table is there. So it's a flood compliant home. Basically, the great square feet, the same footprint, just a little bit different position on the lot. I think it's just a good reason to go. So, questions?
Site plans up top. I finally got it through, so I did one thing good.
Just go back to this one.
I'd be more than happy to. I did the site visit on 7/13. It's a really straightforward project from what I could see. I like the idea of decreasing wherever we can. We want to get pervious materials. You could ask for a cross section to get that. You saw what happened with the property on 1159 Ferry. If you get the cross section, they'll most likely build to that. We got a lot of good professionals out here and they read a plan. They're like, okay, that's what I got to do. Otherwise they'll come in with alternates. So maybe that's something you want. Let's see. There's not a lot of room for mitigation on here. The wetlands are really tight on all sides. And like Rick said, they're not going any closer to the wetlands. And let's see, on this property, they're in Berry Beach Coastal doing the land-subject coastal storm flowage. They're holding as close as they can to the existing footprint. The impervious table kind of gives a read on where you stand. They're going to be, let's see, they're decreasing by 50 square feet. That's a positive right there. And if you can get that driveway to be pervious, that's a bonus too, because now you have functionality as well. These are the things you have to start thinking about in this environment because that's what needs to happen. Thank you for making that offer.
Not in state with it. It wasn't a barrier, but it is not.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said that. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for correcting me. That was because I made it my code. We're just in land subject to storm flowage.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. And floodplain. So you don't have the standards to go up in the piles and everything in this case, unless it turns out it's dune, which we're not going there right now.
Floodplain.
Clerical error on my part, everybody.
So, once again, you apply for the floodplain.
Yes. Yes.
Similar issues with systems of raising. Those comments about the driveway, it looks like the driveway is delineated here, Bill, and it's specified as shell or stone.
Right. What's under it though, Rick? That's what I'm thinking. You know how we did that over at that one on Bayberry, right? Remember that one, 113 Bayberry?
Yep.
We ended up getting this, even though that one was shell and everything like that, we did get us one of your fantastic cross sections. Could we see that?
I don't have a problem showing that. No.
It's a pretty easy thing. He's going to put a square this big and you're going to see what's going on underneath it. They've got formatted stuff and then they'll build to it.
Beyond that, after you're at 33% coverage, small lot. I've got no further questions. else? In that case, I'd like to open up to the public for any comments. None. So I'd like to make the motion to continue, same as before, continue to August 3rd.
Yes. Yes, so I would suggest that it continues to 8/3, Bert, and to allow time for Mass DEP to generate a wetlands protection file notification number.
Second. Second, Ken Dodge, roll call vote, Susan?
Susan, yes.
Yes. Ken does, yes.
Craig Hanfin, yes?
John O'Donnell, yes. Edward O'Donnell, yes.
It's 6:00. All right, Rick, great job. So we got that one out. Billings is next, right? You still here, Rick? That's good.
Yeah.
More Berry Beach. That's when we do have it right here. There we go. Yeah, that's good. This is Bird again, right?
All right, next up is 18 Billings Street. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, July 20th, to consider the notice of intent filed by Ellen Quinn, 18 Billings Street, and the hearing officer is Vice Chair O'Donnell.
Yes. Yes, they're all covered. It's just a DEP sign, I think. I mean, a DEP. Yeah, number.
Yes. Very similar to the Wilson Road project, although a smaller. It's in the Barry Beach zone, and it's also in the 89. It's not having associated DBW on this project, but it is shares the other two characteristics. This addition, small addition to this existing single-family home, is a 10 by 22. It is proposed on helical tiles, open underneath, and is also been see a proposed ground level deck shown on the front of the house. We've made all the similar applications as the others with ZBA, and this also will have to go through the floodplain permit, same situation. But the work itself is helical piles in the ground deck. Do have an increase, as you can see on the coverage table, just for that. That obviously even 483 square feet, roof area and deck area. One thing that I've talked with the homeowners about that isn't on the plan is there's an existing concrete walk that currently goes out to Billings Road that they're going to be removing as part of this project, which I didn't capture in the coverage table that would be removed. It's not enough to make up the full, it's a small walkway, but it's all solid concrete. It's all going to be coming out and be grass, so it's natural surface there. So that's one thing I wanted to point out, but beyond that, that's really the project. Small addition and depth.
Yeah, just checking one thing real quick here. Everything's going to bear with me.
What do you propose to put under the 10 by 22?
We just put no specific material, but it's just going to be natural dirt, or certainly do a crushed stone, a pea stone surface under there, under both the deck and there, but certainly nothing impervious, but no issues putting anything that can be conditioned.
He's going up on helical piles on this one. I met with the homeowners and walked around the property. And so what they're doing is they're elevating up, but they're leaving it open. So you're going to get that exactly what you wanted at 13 South, which would have been the flow of the water, the percolation down, etc. It is taking up a good part of the property from a coverage perspective, but because they're not going to cover underneath, it's just going to be the piles of the sonotubes. You're not creating a large amount of material that's in the subsurface. So therefore, you're not having the big conflict you had over with that other property at 13 South. I went in the back and talked to them, but they've got a concrete driveway and a little bit of a pad for their shed in the back. If the commission wanted mitigation, you'd be looking at that and going to pervious. However, I'd say leave it alone because they're on the piles. And I think overall, the project is pretty solid. They have gardens, they have everything like that. It's basically a lawn that they're converting into living space. It is Berry Beach coastal dune. And the commission's convention has been to allow construction when it meets compliance like this, so that we have performance standards functions where land subject to coastal storm flowage is overlapping with Berry Beach coastal dune, and the performance standards are actually working.
See nothing, make a motion to continue to August 3rd, pending issuance of DEP number, and will also be filed with floodplain permit.
Thank you.
So I made the motion.
Right.
Read that, Bill, or?
Yeah, I think I've, yeah, it's the same thing. I could read it unless you've got it memorized now. Continue to 8/3, 2022 to allow time for Mass DEP to generate a wetlands protection file notification number.
We got a second. Second, John Long.
Okay, thank you.
Roll call vote. John?
Yes.
Greg?
Frank, yes?
Ken Dodge, yes.
David? Yes. Susan?
Susan, yes.
Earl, yes.
6-0, okay, great. Okay, all right, and whatever is the evidence would be really helpful for all those projects, and where to say you've obtained it. We did say that we want some evidence of it. I don't know if you get an email or what's gonna happen, but we're supposed to be working with you. And all the applicants and consultants at some point, we'll figure out a way to reach out in a broader way to the consultants and the public, probably in tandem with the building department. But Chair Hannafin, Andrew and I need to work that out, okay?
Excellent. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Thank you, Rick. Okay,
I'll-
on to 17 Oregon
Yeah, Jake, we-
Road, and this is a continued hearing. And Mr. Zimmer is representing the applicant. I believe at the last hearing, we had a conversation about the possibility of coastal dune and exploring that further. Like to address that?
Sure. For the record, John Zimmer, with me tonight is Mr. Powell, the applicant, as well as Dick Rockwood from Rockwood Design. At the last hearing, we were continued for number one for the issuance of the DEP file number, which has subsequently been issued. I would note that in the issuance of the file number, they did identify land subject to coastal storm flowage. They did not identify coastal dune. So we did go back and do some additional homework on the potential presence of coastal dune resource area within the property. We looked at the Wetlands Protection Act, which identified coastal dune as any natural hill, mound, or ridge of sediment landing at a coastal beach deposited by wind action or storm overwash. The commission's bylaw is basically has the same definition as the the site itself does not represent a ridge, mound, or natural hill. It is essentially a level property that is maintained maybe a little over a foot maybe from one end of the property to the other. There's an additional developed lot between the seawall, which is basically 12 feet high, which basically precludes natural deposition of sand from the beach landward of the seawall, unless it's within a significant coastal storm where you get, maybe a 100-year storm with a significant inflow of water. The commission did ask about doing a soil test in here to determine whether or not there's sand present. We can see that there's sand present in the property. You know, if you've gone by the site, you've seen that there's basically a sand volleyball court there. The sand was not imported for the court. So, you know, basically there is, you know, 2 developments before the subject property. You know, and it's relatively flat. There's no traditional dune type form to the area, so it's not raised at all. So, you know, from that perspective, we did not feel that it met the definition in 310 CMR 1028. Subsequent to that, we looked at existing map resources. We went on to DEP's wetlands mapper, and that area between Bull Beach Road and Wrexham Road is not identified as a coastal dune or barrier beach by DEP, who also reviews the soil mapping when they make those determinations. Yes, the whole area is mapped as sand. The DEP did not identify that area as coastal dune or barrier beach. The town of Marshfield went through a community resilience building workshop, of which the Conservation Commission was part of. In that document, the findings of that resiliency workshop, they did have mapping in there, which mapped coastal resources, which, from my estimation, you know, was fairly consistent with how DEP mapped it. It was mapped B2. Bill, I don't know if you have a copy of that.
I could try. I'm going to see. I'll let you go, John. I'll try my best to support you where I can.
So the resiliency workshop mapped coastal resources basically along the shoreline of Marshfield, and you know, identified areas of barrier beach and coastal dune. And within that mapping, of which the commission was part of, and I'm assuming, I want to assume that the commission would be responsible for mapping the wetland resource areas within that finding, did not map the area between Old Beach Road and Wrexham Road as either coastal dune or barrier beach. So aside from that information, all of which points to the area not being coastal dune, there are,
She's telling me where to go, John. I'll take it there.
If you can pull up my letter. It was,
The beginning of your letter?
yeah, it's in the attachments of the letter.
Okay. Are you finding it here? What page?
Actually going down, it's in the attachments. It's attachment 3.
This one, the resiliency?
Yep.
Okay.
Right there. So you can see, maybe we can zoom in on that a little bit.
All right. Bear with.
Thank you. So the area that I'm pointing to, 17 Oregon Road, is outside of that area. It's mapped. You can see the yellow down on the left, bottom left of the legend, which says beach, coastal dune, and I think maybe coastal bank. So it's outside of that area that was mapped as well. So the commission, you know, in one of its own documents, did not identify that. So we also went and looked at past projects within that area between Old Beach Road and Wrexham Road, and identified, you know, this is 3 that I'm aware of, and you know, 2 of which I was involved with. 37 Constitution Road, as well as 24 Oregon Road, which were both either raise and rebuilds or new additions and garages, were approved with orders of conditions, allowing for a solid foundation with wetlands. Additionally, 32 Surf Ave, which we discussed at the last hearing, which is basically right, you know, along the western edge of that area that's mapped by NRCS as sand, was also approved with a solid foundation with smart nets. So, you know, similar to this project, that all those projects are compliant for projects within that subject to coastal storm. And then we did include an email from Andrew Stewart, the building commissioner, who indicated that the project is compliant from building code perspective, with a solid foundation with smart vents. And then finally, there was discussion about a project on Constellation Road, which is in that same general area. as being, kind of the definitive DEP determination as opposed to Phil was nice enough to provide that information to us, and we reviewed it. That property is not an apples-to-apples comparison with this project. Constellation Road project, the applicant conceded that it wasn't close to it. The project was denied because it didn't meet the performance standards for work within a coastal dune. The commission denied it because they indicated that they felt that the coastal dune habitat there provided wildlife habitat. So that was the basis for the denial. It wasn't whether or not it was actually a coastal dune. So I just wanted to make sure the commission was aware of that. So with respect to the coastal dune, that's the information we presented in the letter. We also provided an updated site plan that showed the area for the additional driveway as being permeable pavers. We provided detail on the site plan to that effect. And we also added in 2,000 square feet of mitigation plantings around the perimeter of the property. Originally we had included 2 dry wells to take all the roof runoff from the new impervious and basically infiltrate it. The commission asked us to look at some potential additional mitigation of properties within that portion of Fieldston. I'm not sure that there are very many other properties that could actually do 2,000 square feet of mitigation plantings just based on the lot sizes out there. So we feel that would be a net benefit, to the function of the landscape coastal storm flowage, as well as provide just some general wildlife habitat out there on the property as well. If you notice, we did avoid the areas that are currently vegetated along the perimeter. So the areas that we situated the mitigation plantings and the conservation markers are areas that are either currently lawn or just exposed. So I think that's the only other thing is that originally we had included the square footage associated with the deck as new impervious. That decking is actually open underneath and has a spacing between the deck slats that would allow water to flow through. So we removed that from the new impervious. So the mitigation plantings are a minimum 1-to-1 for the new impervious. I think that's it for the moment. We have to answer questions you may have. Sorry, I threw a lot of information there.
No, that's fine. That's what we're asking for. Bill?
Yeah, I'd like to start and maybe hand off. So John always does great work. I felt it was important to share the entire file from Constellation. What do we learn if we don't all go through it and look at it from different perspectives? So I haven't done that yet. Okay, I will return on that if there's a continuation. I did point out last time that it is in a soil-based area, which is right here, that indicates dune. It can be artificial dune that has functionality. So in other words, man-made soils can be mixed in, and that could still be a dune. Dunes are interesting. They can show up in places you don't anticipate them. I don't think anybody wants to go on a dune hunting mission or anything, but in response to John's comments and the building commissioner about the many other properties that have been allowed, those are typically raise and rebuilds on a similar footprint, or just like you saw before with regards to, I believe it was 17 West, just slightly shifted. Small additions. This is an 1,800 square foot addition with a garage and a second story, a proposed addition for the house, and decking in a environment that is relatively has similar properties of a dune. The only way you're ever going to know is a soil survey. I know that I had recommended that in the minutes, which everybody here received, and we haven't approved them yet, which sadly that we haven't done that, but you did see them, and hopefully at the end of the night we will approve them. And Chair Hannafin also made the comments that a soil survey would be helpful as well. I take lessons from the public and also from experts. So we do have an expert here tonight to talk a little bit more about that. And I want to get into that in a few seconds. Regarding the seminar that Commissioner Chair Kilcoyne and I attended, they're basically saying that we attended a broad scale scoping meeting. And because we didn't call out a minute detail about an area, that were an acknowledgement of it. I would say that's the equivalent of clapping and being polite at an event when you really didn't like whatever you saw. It's just being polite. It's a formality of it. So I would not say that that was a confirmation that the conservation administrator or the chair of conservation had given up all their rights about anything, because new information might arrive, or we might have a condition that comes up that's new and different. So we have to take these one by one, be courteous, apply the performance standards, and take them one by one. What's happened here that triggered all this is an individual, we got a complaint, we always get a complaint, and Constellation was being developed. So after the lawsuit, after the complaint, after the judge decided in land court that the commission was right, that it was done, basically what ended up happening was this other gentleman started to build on it. So he bulldozed about 1/8 of it, and we made it go back and do an after the fact RDA, and he's now restoring that dune. So he knows he's done the wrong thing and he's working on it. So we're working with him. So that opened this back up, and it made you wonder, all right, if we have an environment where we're not going to be in a tight environment going straight up, or a small change, maybe we have to check these out. This is an example of a property that's got about 4,000 square feet of relatively open environment that looks a lot like dune to some, others no, but nobody will ever know unless we do a soil survey. So that's why we brought Rebecca Haney back in today to talk to us once again about coastal dune. So I would like to, with the chair's permission, to allow Rebecca Haney from CZM to talk about the importance of soil survey, how that would be done, and how that would cure the problem for Mr. Powell, and he'd know what he's working with here. Is that allowed?
Yes, absolutely.
Welcome, Rebecca.
Welcome, Rebecca. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you for being with us.
Sure. So my name's Rebecca Haney. I'm a coastal geologist with the Massachusetts Office of Coastal Zone Management. And our office was involved in some of the original mapping that was done to generate those barrier beach maps. They are very, they do give you an indication of if you're within that area, you are definitely within a barrier beach. However, those boundaries are not exact. They were not done with the detailed soil surveys. They were done with remote sensing. And so the guidance that we in DEP provide about those is that you use them as a first cut. It does not give you the full extent of the resource areas. So looking at this site relative in close proximity to that, there's no question that we need to be looking at that subsurface sediments. Dunes, as I've talked to the commission before, when you're in these developed environments, you can have a seawall out in front of it, you can have development. It has to do with the underlying sediments as to whether it's a dune. There's plenty of things that have taken place to flatten areas and to change that. And so some of the functions may have been diminished by the fact that there's a seawall out there, but you need to delineate the resource area first and then look at what might be required to protect it. And for this site, you definitely need to have that subsurface soil information. And I'm happy to come out with Bill and the applicant and help walk through that process of looking at the subsurface sediments. It does get a little more complicated in areas where if you've got artificial fill. But as I've talked to the commission about before, several of you, there's a guidance document called the Coastal Manual that has a lot of guidance on how to evaluate these areas, how to determine if they are dunes, and this was jointly written by DEP and CZM. So I'm happy to provide additional assistance, but this definitely needs some subsurface sediment analysis.
And I'd like to add that just for the commissioners, all commissioners, we've done this once and we didn't have that kind of guidance. And second reviews later on, the sediment didn't seem to support, the finding that was written by the particular consultant, shall we say. So this would benefit Mr. Powell and the town through the commission to get this figured out. It's a large area. It's got dune-oriented properties, plants, et cetera, the sand. It may not actually be dune, but the best way to find that out is to do the soil survey, apply the standards that Rebecca's talking about, and close the loop on this. Now, I'm not one to say we should go chase every property. I think it's the ones that have got the open environment. They offer maximum permeability and functionality. We could go to another level and look at all of them. I don't think that's what the commission wants to do. If I were sitting commissioner, I'd have to really think about that. I'd have to be really convinced. But on these open properties like this, the undeveloped one in Constellation that are in that same soil classification area, which says it's dune, and you have this much, you need to know. You need to know, because what that's going to do is displace tremendously. I just saw a property not terribly far from this in a different area outside this soil characterization. And just by the town or whoever repaving the road, this guy picked up such intense sheet water that he's going to be coming back to us for an after the fact or some form of conservation permit so that he doesn't have the water coming on his property. So there's a balancing act that has to be done here. This will have impacts, but there's probably a way to deal with it. And also, it's important that this go back to the building commissioner as well, and they take a look at the floodplain permit and the building permit so we can find out if this is substantial or not, because the building commissioner is not going to step up and do anything until he gets his documentation through the form of an application, and then he's going to do it. And that's basically what he's been telling Chair Hannafin and I in a pretty defined way, and I think that's actually good. We're finally getting to the bottom of what we need to do, some standards here. So those are two things that I would recommend. And if commissioners want to go out when that soil survey happens, that's all well and good.
John?
I'd just like to point the commission back to the definition of coastal dune. It says any natural hill, mound, or ridge of sediment. It doesn't say sand, it says sediment. It could be anything as long as it's natural hill, mound, or ridge. And I'm not sure if there's case law that defines it specifically as sand or not, but it says sediment and natural hill, mound, or ridge. We do not have that at this point. So go back to the regulatory definition of the dune, not the constitution of the material itself, but natural hill, mound, or ridge.
For Rebecca chimes in, what she taught us when she came to the commission and presented on September 23, 2021, I kind of already knew, but it was good to have her from her, was it's erodible soils. If you have erodible soils, you have a dune, even if it's flattened and even if it's under 6 inches of concrete, because that it's still got the functionality of the dune. So the functionality, in addition to the regulations definition of this concept of a mounded dune or a rolling dune, a storm can come in and flatten it out. You've seen the beaches happen. This is typical. They're supposed to migrate and they're supposed to erode and accrete. That's what happens to dunes. And they also, water should pass through them. They're geologically, not geologically, but it's part of their inherent fate, you might say, that the materials do this over time. Rebecca, you want to comment on John's comment?
Would you like to respond to Mr. Zimmer?
Yes, I think it's important with dunes, they are an elevated landform landward of the beach. This is still an elevated landform landward of the beach. You don't have the same topography that you do, for example, at Wrexham, because you've had some development. So you're not going to see, a nice mound shape on the surface because it's been modified by development. We do work and we do live within the resource areas. We have a balance there. So it's not going to look like a natural dune, but it could still be hill, mound, or ridge higher than the beach, landward of the beach. We have to look, the way we determine that in developed areas is to look at the subsurface sediments. This doesn't have to be a complicated, expensive process. You can do it with an auger and look at the subsurface sediments to figure out, what is it, wind or wave deposited, artificial material, or is it bank? And that's relatively simple and straightforward to do.
It's what was asked for, at least by Chair Hannafin and I last time, and then we would be done already. The commission would have the clear and convincing information that it needs to make a decision.
Commissioner comments?
I think you've done a reasonable job suggesting that this does not meet the WPA definition of a coastal dune. If they want like that soil survey, definitions, that should be something that they add after this. I think you've done a good job.
Anyone else?
I'd like to speak. I just had two questions. One would be I do see a lot of mitigation here with dry wells and obviously plantings and whatnot, which is great. It's obviously what we like to see. But have we in the past, I guess this can be directed towards Bill, have we required this soil sample to, across the board for all applicants in this application?
So the answer would be no. So the answer would be no. We've done it once in another property, which Rebecca pointed out, and I'll spend more time when the time is right. This particular area is not Barrier Beach coastal dune due to the fact that it does not have a salt marsh behind it or a water body. It's a unique environment that's got the capacity to have dunes in it. The commission has done that in the past and at Zero Constellation, and it actually went all the way to court and it was upheld. This commission has done it with 50 Ocean Street at one point in time, and that's the one I was saying to you, we might want to have done a little more thorough job because it's right in the fringe of being in and out of Barrier Beach coastal dune. And so that's that. I'm trying to be conservative in the requirement, and this is a situation where it would be applicable. If we go and do it broad brush, then we're doing it on every property, and I'm not sure I'm going to want to be the one to say that that's what we want to do. It's unique circumstances, the undeveloped lot at Zero Constellation, this large area that's undeveloped, it's going to have an impact. I'll be getting complaints about water and differences and so on. It will be a fact. So if you approve a project, you might hurt 5 other people. So that could happen. So we're better off to find out if it's due or not. So we can either do this or we could build it in a way that's not going to create impacts. That would be my answer to you, sir.
Anyone else?
What's required to do soil sample?
Rebecca?
I can't hear the question.
Bert O'Donnell, the commissioner vice chair, asked, what is required to do a soil sample?
You just need to use an auger to look at to get to the subsurface sediments, and you can go down with an auger and see what the sediments look like relatively quickly and easily. You don't need to do this with a large equipment. This is a very simple hand tool.
How deep do you go with the auger?
How deep is it required to be sufficient, Rebecca? Ballpark, because I know it's probably site by site.
So typically you can tell what the sediments look like, within the first foot or two. If there's artificial fill, if there's been a lot of fill on the site, then you may have to look a few different places so that you can see whether it's artificial fill or dune consistently, or whether it's glacial. This could be glacial. If you look at the map that Bill has up there on the screen, look at where the wetlands are in terms of being landward of that. You've got wetlands that are not too far away. So those Barrier Beach boundaries are not something you can rely on. When you are this close, you need to be looking at those sediments. And this is a consistent thing that's done in all communities on a routine basis. It's not a complicated process.
If you look at it, if this was an undeveloped lot, there'd be no question that, it'd be a no-go or be definitely soil sampling. So if you think about it a little differently and get out of the box for a second there, that might help a little bit with regards to, the broad brush thinking. Again, I don't want to go do this everywhere. It's only where we have specific things. We have an 1,800 square foot, project here. They just mitigated. That's great. They just mitigated. But you also may have dune, and it may change the whole nature of the thing. So better to find out.
Any public comment?
What's your name, sir, for the record?
Frank Powell.
Oh, welcome, sir. Yeah, okay.
I've owned it since 2013. Property hasn't changed 1 inch from one. We don't get any water from the other stone. It hasn't changed at all. In addition, it used to be three lots when they did the previous owner for the combination. They combined the lots. So it's a very large lot. I think John pointed out for the area. Substantial, even with the addition, we're still going to have, how much would you say, John? 7,000 or 8,000 square feet. So I find it that if we're going to do a soil test, what does that really tell us? Tell me we have to do it for everybody? And when you do a soil test, what is that going to tell you And I think a soil test is probably objective to the person doing it and what they want out of it. So I'd like more definition of what a soil test is.
Well, my thought is, it sounds like this is relatively easy to do. It may prove you fine.
Right.
You can move forward. It's still
look at the project.
still open for discussion.
It's not like it's impossible. If, to Bert's point, if it shows up, it's done. You're just changing the role of the project, you know?
But then why don't we do it for everyone in that area?
Well,
As a taxpayer,
Mm.
as a property owner, we need to do it for everyone.
Well, we could end up doing
Things
that.
change all the time. It's
And I agree with
constantly
you.
evolving. And it used to have the Mexicana in the backyard.
Oh, I know, I hear great stories about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, in the Constellation project, that was back in 2008. It was referring to.
Yeah, John was on the commission then, correct?
Yeah, 2008, and it was remapped in 2020. I believe I'm correct with the number. Is that right, Bill?
I don't know that this mapping here was done in the 60s, and that's never changed. Okay, that's been since the 60s. With regards to the floodplain, that's what you may be referring to. It was in 2016. Their town had some changes in 2020, and they had them again in 2021. Maybe that's what you're referring to. But the soil stuff right here, that goes back to 1969. That's pulled out of a national survey that we also have at the county level as well.
It was, John, what was that commission number? What's all? I just feel that if my neighbors are doing it, and they're not, asked to do soil test. And when we do a soil test, what does that mean? What's it based on?
Well, you hire a soil scientist, just like you hire, other experts to go through these processes with you.
Yeah, we started.
And it's not, you said it wouldn't be objective. Well, it should be objective. It's.
From day one, Dick and I consulted with
Yeah.
make sure what we could do and not do in this area. What was feasible? Could we do a foundation? Could we not do a foundation? And now spend $20,000 to $25,000. You're asking me to spend more money, and you're not asking my neighbors to do it. And that's what I find.
Well, your neighbors aren't in front of us,
And I
with a
invite-
project.
Yeah,
And maybe
no,
when they come in front of us,
Yeah, I
they
also.
will be under the same,
I'm not arguing with you, but I also I would like the commission to come look at it.
Oh, I've been there.
The site visit will be good. I just want to say this. You asked some really great questions. Rebecca Haney had mentioned the soil test. Okay, what is it? She's saying an auger. So an auger is a unit with a T on the top. John uses it all the time for wetlands, and it has a spinning device that captures soils. There are many types. You can use a driven hydraulic version, take out split spoon. You could use a backhoe, etc. But what she's saying is the lower end of it, which I was surprised at, to be honest with you. But if she's the expert, then that's the way it goes. As far as it goes, why we up you, it's burden proof on the applicant all the time to prove any comment, to prove beyond a shadow of doubt, give clear, convincing information so the commissioners can make their decision. So that's why this is up there at this point in time. The Constellation project happened about 4 months ago, and that reevaluated and reset this area. I am not one to personally want to go after a previously disturbed environment in general. If it's valid and it's there either because it's prior to 1972 when the Wetlands Protection Act came out, or it has a permit and it's valid and it's no problems, it's got a certificate of compliance, no issues. I don't think that you need to go and do a soil sample for something like that. You have a large open space, as you know, on your property. It's a great property, as you know, and the functionality of it is coming to question. And because of this other property that got pulled in due to a complaint from the public to that individual in the same soil area, and the commission is just simply doing its job to go through the details. You may be found in a matter of an hour's time of testing to have not got the soil structure. You submit the plan, you get your project, it's done. If you do, then you have to go back to the building commissioner and figure out now what do you have. And it's possible it's due. So we want to.
That's the nature of my question, John. If you qualify for the soil sample,
I can figure out the difference between sand and.
so I think
as a proposed, Bert, was I be there as eyes, because I don't have that skill, and then we'll bring Rebecca. Rebecca's got like hundreds of these she's done, and then that benefits Mr. Powell because he has two public servants who are not going to cost him a penny.
So it's not gonna be excessive cost in this, it may let you go forward. We made it down here. Well, they won't absolutely rule it out.
But I'm also saying, why don't we do it to everyone in that area? Because I think if we do it, I think other people should have to do it too. I'm not arguing, I'm just stating my point.
If going forward, that may very well be what happens. As Bill said earlier, we're not out here moon hunting.
So you mean if they do an audit bill and it's sand, what does that mean?
If it's erodible materials and it meets the criteria, Rebecca's going to point us in the right direction. I think John is very capable. He's a qualified wetland scientist, and I would not want to dequalify him. I think in the presence of Rebecca Haney, that John can get the job done, not costing you anything else. So it'll basically come out, whatever the samples are, Rebecca and he will look at it. I'm going to want to then criticize it and say, have you got it? Do I get data sheets? Whatever we need, I'll be asking, because I got to come up to speed. I have to present information to the commission. That's all I do is hand off information. Okay. So if we get that done, which they asked for like last time, and it's favorable to you, bravo, you're done. There's no question about it. And that may help your neighbors also. No worries, sir.
I have another question for you, John. Where are you with your building permitting and floodplain permitting? Have you?
The reason we're asking that is this. It's a very good question. Chair Hannafin and I and Andrew Stewart are all communicating. How are we going to get the floodplain permit on the front end of this, which you probably haven't applied for, although you've interacted with them. You need to apply. He can't give us some.
I recall from last time, Bill, that Andrew said that this project would come in before.
Yeah, I'd have to go to his comments, right? I think I have them. So,
So the floodplain may not be applicable, but yeah, you need to determine if this is going to be substantial improvement.
So correct.
No, regardless of what it is.
You're in the floodplain. You need to get that. So this is brand new. Everybody's going to get a little taste of this, and we're going to have to figure out a way to work with Andrew and communicate out a message we all agree to. But the floodplain permit's supposed to come first when you're in the floodplain. That's it. And so we're trying to support that. Town administrator is behind it too. It's just what's coming up, okay? We've all put in our 2 cents on it. It's the state of the art right now. And that's brand new. And so I'm not trying to kick anybody. I'm just letting you know that's going on. So getting in front of Andrew is, wait, I'm not done, just from Andrew and from the building department. The floodplain administrator is Andrew, and the building commissioner. He's also the zoning enforcement officer, all those things. So you want to get that in there. Now you've been communicating with him, so you're got in the right direction, but we don't have an application. He's flat out said to us, basically, if it's not a substantial improvement, no changes in design. If it's determined to be a substantial improvement, changes may be needed. Without a building permit application and supporting construction documentation, you guys know this, I cannot make these determinations. So we have to give him the tools, and that's an application. He's going to need his floodplain permit and the building application more on the front end. And I just want to have everybody who's coming through, the commission's heard this message. This is collective, and we're trying to get it fine. We're not criticizing. We're just educating and sharing, because we're learning too as we speak right now.
The floodplain permit comes before conservation. Does conservation review the floodplain permit?
Correct. You're right.
Because we need to be sure that it complies with your bylaw and.
Correct.
So I can answer that too, yeah.
Let me just say, the floodplain permit is designed to act almost as a clearinghouse for all permitting. First stop is the building commissioner to discuss floodplain permit. And everything flows from there.
So there's a review stage, John, and then there's an approval stage. So let's just say the building commissioner identifies that conservation is needed, water's needed, historic's needed, whatever. They're going to have a review stage, and you go in and you fill out your criteria. Soil survey, again, to the commission. I'm not going to check it a lot. I want to be very conservative with its use. Property like this, an undeveloped property, I would probably check soil survey every time. So that's the logic there. That gets filled out, history, and as you complete those, you can put in some comments. Then from there, it comes up to an approval stage, and it's supposed to flow through. And we wouldn't deny or put you on hold. I did that once. I got some feedback. I shouldn't have done it, right? So I don't do it anymore. But I stopped the approval process because we've been doing that with the building permits in the past to get them to come to Concom so we could complete that part and then we'd move forward. That's just all it was. So the pathway now is review and approve, write comments, and then the building commissioner, who is a floodplain administrator, I believe this is the way it is, will manage its way through, and that's what they want to do. And that will then generate your determinations and all the things, the tools that we've been kind of struggling, how do we get this? So the unknowns come out, and they should iron themselves out.
So if I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is new.
I would say,
Because I sat down
correct.
with Andrew 6 months ago, actually more than that, went through this entire project. 1 year. And yeah, we both sat.
That's
there
about
and
right.
said, this is what we want to do. We looked at all the maps. We looked at all the maps that showed us whether it was Barrier Beach, not Barrier Beach, coastal dune. Went through all those issues, had all this discussion, then went to zoning, did everything else. I have structural plans from my structural engineer with all the smart fence, strip wall foundation, because it met all the criteria.
I get you.
No application, no forms. So with the timing of everything else, and then, waiting, now we're here at the conservation. Now
We're
you're
here
saying
next year.
that you've got something new, so it's
The
really not fair.
floodplain permit went active on June 1st.
Right, and it was voted by the select board around February something.
So if you began this process a year ago, the floodplain permit was not in effect.
It was in its advent for being created
They were working
and
on
its
it, but it
release.
had not been released.
And I think
But the permit.
you may have come under the wire. on
Yeah,
this.
you may not be under the floodplain permit.
When did you guys apply to us? Because it's June 1st is the kickoff for the floodplain permit.
Got the zoning.
No, to us, because, I have to look at the file. We would know it's,
You know, talk to the building commissioner.
Yeah.
That's his information to us says how to talk to the building commissioner.
Yeah.
So.
he's saying a building permit, exactly to Bert's point.
Yeah, they have zoning approval, but I don't think so.
Right.
So that's
don't apply
also-
for a building permit in this town to go through everything. I have other towns, the first up.
Well, that's changing.
So
That's changed.
I actually had a nice chat with Commissioner Good about that. So as you all know, there's a document that says go here, 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 and here, and it's kind of generic. And maybe that doesn't work. But now we've got the floodplain permit that's come up. It's supposed to be a good thing, and it will be a good thing, and if everybody pitches in. But we may need a new document saying the flow chart. If in the floodplain, you follow this pathway, and if not, you follow this pathway, right? Is that what we were trying to say?
Yeah, we spoke earlier today, and I just, after last meeting and a couple today that are encountering the same sort of problem where they're, coming to us and saying, you don't have a floodplain, and we didn't even know that it was required. I think that's unfair. I think that the town should do a better job of delineating what that flow of permitting should look like and make it immediately available for everyone that's in their position. I think to your point of consistency, I think you're 100% right. I don't think that it's fair to have you seek a soil sample if no one else has done it. We should make it something that's required moving forward. Really outline what we're looking for with Rebecca's help moving forward.
And if I may, because I was.
No, I just want to say, you're absolutely right. The flow used to be go to conservation first. That
So,
is
like I
not.
say, in other towns, you go for building permit first, and so you're on
Bert.
record, so they send you the
Bert, get to the
conservation
mic.
zone.
Get to the mic. They can't hear you.
So we started this process over a year ago. Where we went through everything with Andrew. We know that it's not a substantial improvement in how it kicks in. It's an able flood zone. Our building has to meet the requirement. We've discussed all those things. He's gone through page by page and basically said, we're okay with what we're doing, not touching the existing structure. So we don't really have to deal with that, but that's all stuff laid out in the building permit.
We can only
So
make a substantial determination after you apply the building permit.
And you guys
We've gone
actually,
through all that.
so
we-
Dick, to your point, you actually do what you would normally do. And this sounds like you've done a great job, but there's a new introduction. And so this is the messaging we're getting. We're trying to communicate that out. We're not trying to bring one out of the sky on you. Everybody's going to be dealing with this. So it'll get refined. Its process will be more streamlined, and then you'll be able to manage it a bit better. I appreciate the all effort. Yeah.
But it's very early days and we're all trying to figure this out.
It's like the advent of it,
The reason it took us this long too is a lot of that to do with the pandemic. Everybody's overworked and short-staffed.
Yes,
Correct.
absolutely.
So to get the
Schedule,
survey
yeah.
to do the work took 4 to 5 months. Someone broke their leg and it just got dragged out. We would have been at this conclusion. The whole
4 or 5 months ago.
Right.
One of these.
Yeah, everything was.
We had the structural engineering done 4 months ago. All the stamp plans, foundation ready to go.
So does the commission need that determination from Andrew? Yeah, ultimately?
It depends on the soils, because, I mean, what it is this, if it's substantial and it's a dune, as you know from the matrix, right? Okay, everybody.
Yes.
So if it's dune and it's in the matrix and you're in the floodplain and it's 780 CMR and 310 CMR are overlapping, you could have to go in piles, maybe the whole house. That's what the consequence is. And that's what state has established, okay? If it's not, then he gets to get this project or something similar. He might expand on it and then more mitigation. He might change it. So that's kind of where you are right now. If it were expanded and you weren't at Dune, then, and you're in Coastal Bank, all this downgrades and you might be like, oh, great, I'll add 200 square feet. Well, we'll need mitigation just so you know in advance. All right. So the commission needs that typically. So it could be a benefit to you to find out it's not Dune. And I'm not going to sit here and say it is until I see John putting the auger in the ground, coming up with data sheets, and Rebecca Fahaney there and giving the testimony to the commission. We get that done, you're set and you're good. Soil surveys should be rare and unusual, in my opinion. If you've got a large open space like this on a property, that's something that you should be using it for. If we're too close to the lines, like Rebecca was talking about, we should be exploring that. If you're 255 feet or similar away from one of the lines, I'm going to say all day long, you don't need to do a soil survey. This is different. You got an open space in the right kind of soil survey, and you're also triggered by zero constellation, which had gone all the way through land court. What are we going to do? You got to have some standards, and it's going to be rare and unusual to do this, and that would be beneficial. However, there was a school of thought that every one of these should be checked. I'm not there right now. I have to be convinced of that.
You still in discussion?
Yeah, I was adding.
So I guess I'd like to ask, or just kind of confirm, so are we asking or are we telling them?
Well, the commission, only the commission, can really guide them. I thought it was clear they needed to do the soil survey. Chair Hannaford did too.
We requested a soil survey at the last meeting.
Yeah.
And I still would like to see a soil survey. I think.
So thanks to that, when Fred was saying things, we didn't understand what he was saying. We just sort of, but when we consulted after, that's what John pointed out. Then we said, well, that doesn't, we looked at all the different information we had. And in the end, as a landowner, property owner, why have to do it with someone else? I understand if every case is different, but we didn't really understand what Bill was saying.
Fair enough. So the commission doesn't set precedent with its actions. Sorry, John. So they try to be fair and they'd be unique because you have to apply the performance standards per property. And if we go to every property, a property that's built out and compare it to one that's brand new or one that's 50-50, there's relatively different. And most of the properties that were cited by, John and Andrew were rebuilds. I would say the commission all day long would want those to be, built and as they were designed. But in this case, you need the additional information.
Right. So the way I looked at it is I went from a regulatory perspective versus straight whether or not it's something. I mean, everything I was looking at in the mapping and the regulatory definitions of coastal dune led me to what I presented in my reference.
Would you be amenable to putting an auger in the ground and seeing what's down?
I take it that we should do it to the whole neighborhood. What if the composition of the whole neighborhood is the same?
I mean, the underlying soil type, which is what Bill was going by, that whole area from Old Beach all the way to Wrexham is mapped as sand. So by definition, if that's how you're going to look at coastal dunes, the presence or absence of sand, that whole area would then be classified as coastal dune. Whether or not it's developed, there's underlying sand that's coastal dune. So every project, regardless of whether or not it's a rebuild or not, should be in compliance with the performance standards of the act.
Would you agree, Rebecca, that if there's sand, the whole place is the whole stretch is a coastal dune?
No, I definitely wouldn't jump to that conclusion. You need to look at it case by case. Right now, you have coastal dunes up at Wrexham and you have coastal dunes further to the south. You don't know what is in between. So you're looking at This is close to the boundary and seeing if coastal dunes extend up this far. That does not mean that it goes all the way up.
Thank you for that, and bless you for saying that, because that gives us the rare and unusual circumstances where soil surveys are required. Chair Hannafin, I would recommend you consider taking a poll and see who wants a soil survey, and then that, I mean, John's made a great testimony, Dick Rockwood, John Powell, Rebecca Haney, I tried, and, you know, you have information.
Okay, well, you know, I would like to see a soil survey. Commissioner Karen?
You got to unmute, Susan. Susan, unmute.
Got it. Yes, I agree.
Vice Chair O'Donnell?
I'd like to see a soil sample. I don't think it's necessarily going to be a binding result, but if you just move forward,
Mr. O'Donnell?
I just think the exact same way Brett said, with the soil sample, but that doesn't mean the project's not going to go forward.
I'm sure no, because if we don't apply this to everyone, I don't believe it to be fair. I think that you would have a hardship with this project.
I also don't think that soil sample should be part.
I would just caution the commission just to say, I don't want, for the record, to have a soil survey, because if we get into a position where we decide that what's fair or not fair, then I'm gonna have to do this to everybody. And I personally don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
Well, we have a consensus that we would like to see a soil survey. And it's perfectly acceptable to us for John.
That's a 4 to 2 in
that,
favor,
so
yeah.
you do not have to hire another consultant. And
I think the package is every case you have to test to see if that's true. She said it her own words.
And that may be the road we're going down.
Are we still in discussion?
Yes.
So could we possibly table this without prejudice and continue this?
You just continue it, Commissioner Dodge. You don't table it, you continue it. Once a hearing happens, what you have just for clarification, the new commissioners, every 21 days, we have a cycle. We need to respond to all these 9 or 10 things that are going on. Anything comes in. So we have to turn that around with a continuation to a date certain. That's why you see a date certain up there. John, maybe I'll do this and we're back on August 3rd. Everything's wrapped up. It might be August 17th, etc. They can continue themselves by notifying the conservation department, and then we notify the chair. It reflects in the agenda, etc. That's the best way there. Tabling is more for the business items, and I don't mean to be lecturing in any way, shape, or form. Just give you options.
So
I have one question. In addition to working with Rebecca, could we maybe get some identifiers as to what sort of this, like the soil samples?
I was hoping that I was going to ask exactly the same thing. I'm looking for a course on this too for the commission. If we can get that, that'd be great. But there is.
Mr. Finn, you can point us in the direction of the Plymouth County soil surveys and how to get information on
Yeah, that would help too. That's a good start. It's factual data.
County soil survey? Is that what you're asking?
Correct.
Well, that would be helpful.
I am.
Okay, so then what we could do is we could put us together internally.
Well, I don't know if it would be.
Consult the full county soil survey? The actual survey, yeah. Yeah, it's basically the same information that will pull over from. No.
But I mean, there's getting into soil surveys is pretty specialized.
Right.
I'm not sure that, nobody here is an engineer, nobody here is a lawyer, nobody here is a soil scientist. That's why we have people do it for the applicants.
So that area that we were looking at will not have consistent definition naturally, if nobody is ever here on the planet Earth, or with the artificial till. It's all going to be somewhat unique. And so I'm just recommending the commission to exercise discretionary authority about the use of the soil survey. And I'm going to be very conservative on that when I'm doing the reviews in the floodplain permit. I think that's the best way to go. In this case, I think you need a soil survey. That's my personal take on it. However, there may be people telling me to do everybody, and that's going to be difficult.
Yeah, I'd just be curious to see what a soil survey, cross section from the dune look like versus.
You can come on the steps. You can come out if you're available.
Yeah, to
I could try videoing it and everything. I mean, I'll do whatever to help the public. And we can bring in experts. Bill Finn can help us out a little bit. There's other people. John's quite talented. He did a project with a guy named Bob Gray out on Ames Way, and it was all about a bank and a dune.
Okay, let's,
Well, I just want to add one thing, just because the reason I'm asking is because I think that the man-made addition of the seawall could have artificially created a dune here in an area that wasn't traditionally a dune. I think that we could find a soil survey could show this is a dune, when in reality it historically wasn't. Maybe it
is
looks
that,
like
is
that
that
now.
possible, Rebecca?
No, you're looking at the origin of the sediments, not just what's at the surface and what's been deposited by a little bit of wind at the surface. That's why we want to go down at least a foot or two to see what the origin of the material is. And you look at several different places across the site so that you get some representative areas that haven't, as much as you can, haven't been modified by development.
So we need a course on this. Yeah.
It's something that, you know, there are soil scientists that could do some training for the commission.
So they review, but my recommendation to the commission is to do exactly what Mr. Raffin is suggesting, and that is have Ms. Hannafin, Haney and John go up there and do a core. It's a simple process. We have the augers in the other room.
So people can go, we'll have a field trip. I mean, not to make a joke out of it. We can go and you can learn, you know?
And if it could be very well helpful.
I also feel like I'm being beginning to set a precedent that wasn't set.
No. We set no precedents.
Okay.
We set no precedents.
I would like all of you to be there.
Yeah, but-
Come see this lot. It has no dune characteristics to the lot itself.
Yeah, I think making a trip would be good for everybody. If you haven't done it, this is a 50-50 scenario. And I think it's helpful. You now have a lot of information. There's some experts we can bring to bear. We started to do that. John's one of them. Okay. So, and Dick, you know.
So going forward, we will have a soil sample taken. And in that case, I am going to continue to.
What do you guys want to continue to? For the chair hand, if it can make the motion.
Are there any other public comments? Mr. Powell was speaking. Anyone else in the public that wants to comment on this? John?
Mr. Powell's going to be away until August 9th, so we would prefer August 17th, and we
Fair
can
enough.
first schedule any soil testing after that.
After he comes back?
Possible.
Okay. I'm not looking at the schedule right now. So you want the 1st or?
August 17th?
No, you want the 1st of September, right? The September one?
No, we prefer August 17th.
Oh, okay. I got you. And when can we do the soil sample, you think, ballpark?
After the 9th. So
8, 9 through, okay, we'll find you. All right, what you do is you get with Liz and lock it down. And let's see if we we got to get Rebecca on that email, Mike and me, and you minimum. And then whoever else wants to come can come along, okay? But we'll videotape it, we'll do whatever, so people get what they need. Is that fair?
I would really invite the whole commission. If you can't make it, then come and look at the lot. Because it's not changed in 9 years.
I see, yeah, I see every property that comes in front of us before I sit down at this table, so.
I've been to Foster Ave, and I've been to some of those backyards. Those are coastal dunes. And that's a whole different story.
Those are obvious.
Yeah,
coastal dunes,
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's why this made.
I hope it does.
But if you look in history, you know, it's Marshfield that came down there, right to, you know, that area, Old Beach Road. Yeah. And that was, you know, that was the only way out, and it was, you know, marshes on either side. You know, so there was some kind of anchor or something there.
They found Pete when they're doing the Foster Ave tow work, and they're putting on these massive stones as high as the ceiling to dig holes. Pete was being dragged in. It's just what happens. You know, geologic time, you know, what was under the ocean was land at one point in time. They're finding tusks from woolly mammoth and mastodons. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's.
I like that story, so they shut me down, okay? Okay. That's one of my favorite stories.
We continue this hearing to August 17th to allow time
For the applicant to provide the results of a soil survey.
sample, and okay, may I have a second?
John
John?
Arlo, yes.
Ken Dodge, yes.
Susan?
Susan Karen, yes.
And Craig Hanifin, yes.
And Chair Hanifin, one little thing, so sorry to cut you off. There were two Mullins that were taken on this so that they could participate. That was Commissioner Good and Commissioner Karen. That's just to make this legitimate, sorry.
And I would also just recommend that you get with Andrew Stewart and begin the application on the building permit.
Sorry, guys.
The application, it doesn't go anywhere until conservation paperwork's on.
Yeah, but he's gonna,
Unless you have your new system.
right, well,
That's what I mean, so now we're
And
starting.
we've done everything the way we were told to do it up to.
Right.
well, we have the email, so we'll give you the email. If there's a problem, you'll get our email.
Yeah.
We have an email and we'll give it to you if you need be, so that you have it.
From us.
It's, we're trying to help, not hurt. Trust us on that.
And the building permit is the same. as the
There's
one?
two separate. There's a number of permits, sorry. If you get into, if you bump into, contact us and we'll provide you the best guidance we can. Yeah, John, a nice presentation, Mr. Powell. Good luck with this. It's gonna work out. Okay.
Okay, and
All right, so now we've got the 239 Dyke Road project. Yes, with the new project. All right, where are we?
who's
Who's got this one? Is this Chair Hanifin again? Oh, my lord. We just like the whole team.
Okay, and
This is already open. You already read it last time.
Hi, folks. My name is Tom Pazurski from Merrill Engineers. I'm the Marine Services Director for the firm. Been for the commission before. This was a unique situation here. We do have a DEP file number issued on it, and a comment to the 98 Chapter 91 Waterways license, which I'm working with Dave Hill right now. That'll be in his jurisdiction. I'm going to predict it's not likely. Because of how I approach this. It has a license, it's maintenance of an existing structure that also has a stone footing underneath it. So we're not encroaching into the waterway any more than the present structure presently occupies on the ocean floor. So we will comply with DMS recommendations. Now, I will note this in their letter. This was a tough solution for this particular one here. Yeah.
Whatever you want, whatever you
Yeah, I'm
want.
gonna flip this over. So I can point it.
You can do whatever you want there, sir.
And you can leave that one up. I'll go to this one here. All right. We have land under ocean. We have a velocity zone AE here that we have to deal with. We have an existing bulkhead, stone block walls that my design team looked at, a structural engineer, geotechnical engineer, et cetera, to see what is the best solution for this. And we have a recently renovated marina, which creates a lot of challenges of, what do I do with an old block wall, and I got a new marina, and I can't touch the new power up top? Okay, that's basically the way I'm looking at this. So our initial approach was to try to use, fix the existing blocks, shotcrete, et cetera, but then I started getting questions from the regulators about coffer damming and how we're gonna let the stuff cure, even though it's just maintenance.
It wasn't me, guys, everybody.
No, it
Ladies.
wasn't, it was DEP.
Yeah, right, thank you.
That was the DEP and the state regulators on how to handle this thing, which we could do it and have answers. So we started thinking about some different out-of-the-box solutions. So this wall, when it comes up, as you can see on the top one there, where the block is here, this top block is flat. It's vertical. Comes
I'm gonna
up
move
about
it,
2 feet above the existing parking lot area. So the plan is we'll deploy floating turbidity barrier, remove all the ramps and everything that's in the way of the structure. Put the floating turbidity barrier out. And then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna repair those blocks that need repairing. The wall's actually in pretty decent shape for its age. And those blocks that deteriorate are the ones that expose the environment. The ones that are submerged, they don't get the oxygen, so they don't deteriorate as quick. So our plan is gonna be, put the barrier out, we'll have a flat work boat down below to fix these blocks. We're gonna clean them off, one of the things that we could do is we put a bin underneath the block, just temporarily mount that bin underneath with a screen in it and a geotextile fabric, probably GTS 101S. So when they wash the block down, clean it out, any of that stuff falls right in the bin. We pick it up from above, bring it up, nothing gets, very minimal. I mean, when you get some spray, you might have a little bit. Then we're gonna dowel into these blocks, we're gonna put epoxy coated rebar in it, secure them in, and then we're gonna use a quick cure polymer concrete. If we do it in the warm time of year, then that'll cure, it sets up in about 15 minutes. So it's a perfect application for this. If we think we're gonna have some inundation in that, we can cover it up with poly, just let it cure a little bit more. Once that's done, then we can start with the real construction on this. This is I think a nice, unique design. We pull these top blocks off here, put them off to the side, weld the material pre-staged. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna do this at a section at a time. Down at the base, these block walls, they're sitting firm, and they're sitting firm because they're on a nice stone base. And along here, if you look at the old premise, this is a 10-foot bench that drops down. So these things really aren't going anywhere. So what we want to do is we're going to clean the stuff out down so we've got an even height of 12 feet, because that's about what we're dealing with here, below the water and up the top. We're going to take with a smooth bucket, push, because we have a shellfish suitability habitat in here, we're going to push the mucky material back. We're going to put some structural clean stone down there to put it in place. And right around the same time, we're going to set, we're going to put mounting plates on the block itself. Come on up. It's all going to be galvanized steel and fixtures and stuff. And we're going to bolt them with epoxies right to the wall. That's some of the plates that you're going to have to it. And then we're going to use H-beams. And the H-beams are going to be put down about 6 feet off center. Put them down, boom, boom, boom. We're going to set a 10-inch pressure treated pile, low grade, set that. And that's all going to be set to establish a 12-foot height. So we'll probably have about 3-foot high panels. I want to go with panels that are not going to align with the joint, because then it's going to lock it in better. All right. So these H-beams are going to be locked in. The contractor, we're going to work very closely with the contractor on this one, so he gets a sample of the H-beam. And that's going to be provided to the concrete manufacturer. The concrete manufacturer is going to precast these panels. And everything will be like a polymer concrete. It's marine grade stuff that's resistant. And then once he gets this set in, once you get these panels locked in, then the panels will slide straight down. And then the center is going to have the 10-inch pile. I want the structural stone around the sides so it doesn't move this way. But it's going to all lock in nice and tight when everything's said and done. And that's basically the construction method. And everything's said and done. Oh, the other thing I didn't mention is we're probably going to take a tensile fabric here and wrap this in. And that's important for 2 reasons. It's got good high strength. We're going to lock it into the existing blocks, and it's going to allow the existing blocks for drainage. The other thing it's going to do is it's going to help slow down any gravel washout that comes out of there, which has been dramatically improved. It's probably pretty much eliminated. I noticed a couple areas since they repaved the area there, but that's going to help with the drainage in here. And if we have to, as we go along here, we might chlorine and put some jet filters. I don't think we're going to need it because the panels are going to have some space between them. And the one thing that we are going to do is probably use shims and whalers, because if you look at that wall, it's good, not settling down, but there's areas when they built it, it comes in and out a little bit. So we're going to want to shim that to take that out of there. So when the panels go in, it's going to be a nice professional looking job that's going to go straight down. And when we're done with that, we're going to put the top block down. It's going to be all nice when we get out of there. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Quick question. So before we go there, 3 words you said: jet filters, whalers, I think, and then what are these shims? It was some kind of a.
Okay, shims are galvanized steel plates that we might use in there.
Yeah.
Just like if this is sitting at an angle here, and I wanted to sit like this, but I got to like this.
Yeah, you got to fix it,
I'm
right?
gonna shim this one out.
So we're not going to allow any mobility because he's tightening it up. Is what he's doing.
And then what we're going to do is we're going to have an annular space between there.
So before we put this top block back down, we're gonna use clean crushed stone to put in it to allow for drainage. And basically, when they put that stone in there, it's gonna lock whatever annual spaces in there tight. And then when we put this block down on top here, it's gonna cap what we got left.
So he's gonna have what's called an interstitial space that goes to
Yeah.
permeability, and they're gonna close it off with smaller
Yeah.
grade stone. I don't know what he's using, I won't ask him, but it's his business. And he's gonna close off the air gaps. In the other case, same kind of thing happens with the subsurface.
Yeah.
What are whalers?
Yeah. Well, is it just like a metal 2x4?
Okay, and then jet filters.
Jet filters may not be usable here,
What
but I'll
are
have
they?
to make that decision. A jet filter is a stainless steel filter that when we put in, they're in the bulkhead that I replaced.
You guys see this bulkhead project, it was fabulous.
Bulkhead I repaired, that was, believe it or not, for a small project, that was a lot of work. There's an existing concrete 4-foot bulkhead that I repaired out there several years ago.
Yeah.
We put jet filters in that. What it is, it looks like almost a perforated waffle cone. And you put stone around it, and it goes through the steel. And behind it's all gravel, but it's a perforated stainless steel stone, almost like a coned spaghetti string. And it's got a flapper valve in it, which allows the water to go out like a tide gate. And then if the water is coming up from the pressure of the water, it closes back down. So it stops with the salt water intrusion. It will stop all of it. But if there's a flood or anything else like that, it'll stay shut. But if there's hydrostatic pressure behind the wall, it will leave the hydrostatic pressure.
So Tom's the go-to guy for all these coastal projects for SHM. He had about 5 of the last 5 years, some closing out. And what an impressive job he did over where the boat lift is and everything with the sheeting there. They use metal sheeting here. What they're trying to do is preserve the old material, which is effective, and they're trying to tighten it up, and that's what they're doing here. They have probably another 600-foot run that they'll come back. When they get all done, everything will be tightened up. They have a dredge project coming. They got an AST project underway. They got the whole property. They're doing stormwater management on it as well. And then they have the boathouse. Many of these are closed off. This is starting to turn out to be one of the state-of-the-art areas in the town. Pretty soon, everybody's gonna be like, wow, because it's coming from an 1800 look, that old sense and everything like that, to state-of-the-art, really setting the precedent.
These guys are the credit for that, because they started this venture when they were rural back in 2015. Bring this place into the 21st century. And the other thing that we might have to do is if I want to finish product. So when everything's said and done, we have annual space, we might have to put like a steel cap from over the top of these to cover up that gravel annual space to give it a nice rest line. And you'll see something similar to that we've got on the steel sheeting that we set. So it's gonna look nice when it's done.
So with regards to that, any changes after it's approved, which I think you're getting approved tonight, special condition A says, come back and decide, we've got to decide whether it's a de minimis activity under the as-built when it comes through, or if you're gonna do it now and you know you're gonna do it, a new plan by 12 noon, Friday, what is coming up, the 22nd?
Yeah, I'm gonna add a cap here, a steel cap.
Any objections to that? He gets it now, he puts in the plan, he gives us a digital, 2 hard copies. The commission approves based on that plan. We have 21 days to issue. We stamp it into the orders and conditions, which I'll explain more clearly to the other commissioners so they can see it the time is right. And then we don't miss this. I took a lot of interest in this because I think it's a pretty awesome project, and
Yeah.
you do fabulous work. And thank you to the guys from Brewer Green Harbor Marina as well. Thank you very much. Yeah.
This was a tough one, because I'm telling you, there was a lot of regulators fighting on this one.
It wasn't me.
I was on the phone a few times with the folks down at DMF. And,
Well, and as you mentioned that,
They have some comments.
you need a building permit, a floodplain permit, and an engineering permit.
We did, yeah.
For
well,
Andrew
yeah.
Stewart.
Yeah, that's fine. Could I get a copy? Is that from him?
Oh, no, we that's us, but we will give you, just like I told Dick, I could give that to you.
Let me just, if I could.
Contact me and I will CC Chair Hannafin and Andrew and say, this is, they want it from the horse's mouth. They want it straight
Yeah,
from you.
just get it to me. Andrew knows me real well. Andrew, I spent 28 years with the Corps. So he and I went back and forth. I had to come in and help these guys out with their current storage building. It's not a storage building. It's a marine industrial ship. So,
Well done.
all right, and it got hot, it got stuck, and I have a feeling this is probably the reason, and a very good reason that Andrew came up with this floodplain permit. Because the last thing that you want is what these guys are talking about here, and it's not my client, so I can't say anything. But the last thing you want is to get to the stage where you've got construction level plans, you've got steel sitting on the ground, you're ready to go. And you're like, oh, I can't let you build this because you don't meet current code regulations. I got called on what it's, no, you do. So what ended up happening is Andrew and I had to work with the state floodplain coordinator and FEMA. And I had to show them at the state level first why it meets the regulations. Then we had a big meeting with Andrew, and Andrew said, yeah. And I said, you know, call her Carlson, he's the state floodplain coordinator, and it got blessed. But this is a good process, because what this process is, he has the first shake of the tree. Before you get to that level, hey, this is what you need to pay attention to. So I'm not really worried about it. These are permit norms, all right?
Yeah.
Now understand this, because we all got going on here. Please put a special condition on there that construction drawings will be provided before we start construction. And we will have a pre-construction meeting with everything outlined with the team that will be involved with it. Because it's real important that I want to make sure that whoever gets hired, that marine contractor is on board. And the other thing, if you look at the DMF regulations, the way this is inherently set up in this wall is, they probably could do it from a barge, but this is realistically going to be a pile driver, rubber tire rig to protect the pavement up there, working from above. Because everything is angled just the right way to do it from above, which is good, because you have less work on the water, less problems you could have.
So lost person recognized. I see Attorney Steve Gardner represents the client too. Hope you're doing well. And nice job as always on this, coming together with a good team and having their back. These guys are doing the job. They're doing the job.
Okay, any commissioner questions or comments?
Structural, I'm out of my own.
What's that?
Structural, I'm out of my own.
Yeah, we got a structural engineer. We got a geotechnical and structural team on this.
So with this new modification, you're not pouring any concrete on site.
No.
Okay, so it's just various epoxies.
Yep. Whatever he said that we're doing,
small batches.
Yeah, that's all. Marine grade epoxies for setting the bolts, and then epoxies for sealing things, or galvy that gets if something gets marked, something will get marked and dinged up. So when you finish it up, it's like you paint the house. You want to touch those areas up, so we'll seal them all up, touch them up. Won't even know it.
So there's no large amounts of disposal.
No. Nope. Not at all. Use a 3M or I think a GAF, probably 5200 epoxy or something. Yeah.
Well,
I just want to say, I'm from Green Harbor. This project was awesome. You know, I worked on that building for a long time. It's going to be a huge improvement.
Yeah.
Best one.
Yeah. This tested my brain, so that's
takes quite a lot.
Hard one to come up with.
That's a tough one. But with you and Dave Hill, we know we got a good product. You know what I mean?
Are there any comments from the public? Hearing none, I move that we vote to close and issue orders of conditions.
Now I should read it. I should read it. This is a big project.
It's a big one. You
Protection by doing this job. Okay, Commissioners. So the D1 before commencing the proposed work, register both sets of orders of state, town with Plymouth County Registry of Deeds and provide evidence to the Conservation Office. Post a Mass DEP sign and provide evidence to the Conservation Office. Obtain all subsequent permits, local, state, and federal, such as the Marshfield Building Department, the Marshfield Zoning Board of Appeals, and any other pertinent permits. Provide Mass DEP Chapter 91 license or equivalent documentation regarding the approved workers' conformance to Chapter 91 requirements. Applicant shall.
Time out. Or, if I may, or an amendment letter to the existing license, because that's probably what's going to happen.
An amendments, yeah, we never. Amendment letter to any existing license. So what he's saying is, might be have something out there that's revised and that would be the preference. So I wouldn't want to lock them up with the verbiage and have to come back for de minimis to get that taken care of. Applicant shall observe 310 CMR 1005 requirements that no work shall commence until all applicable administrative appeals have elapsed. Per 780 CMR section 105.8, applicant shall notify the building official at least one business day before the start of work to verify all dealing conditions have been met prior to the commencement of work. Coordinate pre-construction site meeting with the conservation administrator or agent. During construction of proposed work, ensure best management practice building codes are followed. Ensure the containment techniques are in place to prevent construction debris from moving into the Green and Harbor River. The containment techniques shall secure the construction site from intrusion into the wetlands. Perform as much of the work as possible for the upland portion of the property. Seaward encroachment of the bulkhead is prohibited beyond what is depicted on the approved site plan references age information item 8. And it looks like we're getting a new plan, okay, by 12 noon Friday. Okay, July 22nd. And we'll
Encroachment
go.
won't be any further, see within the base.
I was thinking the cap that you want to put in, that's
So I
also.
know, but before that,
Yeah.
the encroachment is already at stone base, so I'm not gonna encroach the cast.
Okay. And then the Mass DEP, DMF comments apply. You got a time of year constraint, restrictions shall be observed in all water, silting producing activities to protect sensitive life stages of winter flounder and the above listed diadromous fish. They also had shellfish. No in-water still producing activity should take place from February 1 through June 30th of any year. However, work can commence, may occur within the time of year constraint period if the proposed turbidity barrier and cofferdams are installed and removed outside of this time of year period. Right, okay, so, but you had turbidity barrier, so I said, they just gave you generic. Repair of the bulkhead should be within the same footprint as the existing structure. Yeah. Any expansion of the footprint in tidal waters of Commonwealth will result in the loss of shellfish habitat. As much work as possible as you could actually upland, we already got that. Fuel spills from the fueling or construction equipment will adversely impact sensitive resource areas. Impacts to resource areas can be avoided by prohibiting all land-based equipment from being refueled on site. If equipment is refueled on site, adequate containment and cleanup of the material should be required to minimize impact. You don't have to get off the site to fuel, just get out of the limit of work area. Post-construction of proposed work, ongoing conditions, at the conclusion of the work described in the plan of record and with approval of the conservation administrator, any containment techniques shall be removed. I'm gonna ask you a question. Should we put on ongoing conditions so that this can be, as per the order of conditions, it can be repaired?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna add one here. So maintenance, okay, or emergency repairs are approved under these orders of conditions.
Typically, we get 48 hours, no, it's not 24 per meeting, it'll be 30 days to everybody.
Okay, and this condition remains in perpetuity. This is called ongoing conditioning. And so what'll happen is when they go for a COC, it'll carry. We'll have ongoing conditioning and they'll be able to come back and they won't have to do this a whole bunch more. This will save time. It's a really great plan. We do it once, we move it through the gates, and hopefully this happens so that 100 years from now, they're benefiting from what the decisions are that are made now. So it's a streamlined process. You see what I mean?
May I have a second?
Who was that? Dave Good? Okay.
John O'Donnell, yes.
Yes. Yes.
Susan?
Susan Karen, yes.
And Craig Hannafin, yes.
Well done.
Thank you.
Another one.
We will invite the health responsible for the construction meeting as well.
Well, for the record, also, a hard copy was provided to the harbor master. I guess he didn't give comments because there wasn't an imminent navigational issue or imminent shellfish issue. Although the presence of shellfish will call about by DMF, they are achieving their requirements by fulfilling their comments. And thank you very much for doing so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, take it easy. Enjoy. Happy sailing.
Okay, certificate of compliance, SE 42-1137 at 74.
You got that one, Mike? I need a break of time here. You could keep rolling. through.
I move that we vote to approve a complete
job.
certificate of compliance. May I have a second? John?
John O'Donnell, yes.
Bert?
Ken Dodge, yes.
Dave? Yes. And Susan?
Susan Karen, yes.
And Craig Hannafin, yes. SE 421763, 459 Highland. I vote that we table this to the August 3rd meeting until the after the fact NOI is submitted and approved. May I have a second?
Second.
John?
John O'Donnell, yes.
Bert?
Yes.
Ken?
Ken Dodge, yes.
Dave?
Dave Good, yes.
Susan?
Susan Karen, yes.
Craig Hannafin, yes. SE 421917, 13 South Street. I vote to continue to the next public meeting on August 3rd, pending receipt of satisfactory response to conditions E and G. May I have a second?
Second.
Susan?
Susan Karen, yes.
Dave?
Dave Good, yes.
Ken?
Ken Dodge, yes.
Bert?
O'Donnell, yes.
John?
John O'Donnell, yes.
Craig Hannafin, yes. And SE 422773, 1185 Ferris Street. I vote to table this to August 3rd to allow the applicant time to provide the required documentation. May I have a second?
Second.
Susan?
Susan Karen, yes.
Dave?
Dave Good, yes.
Ken?
Ken Dodge, yes.
Bert?
O'Donnell, yes.
John?
John O'Donnell, yes.
Craig Hannafin, yes. And we have one enforcement order, and I'm going to move that we vote to table to the August 3rd meeting. May I have a second?
Second.
John?
John O'Donnell, yes.
Bert? And
Ken Dodge, yes.
Dave?
Dave Good, yes.
And Susan?
Susan Karen, yes.
And Craig Hannafin, yes. With that, I move that we close the Marshfield Conservation Commission meeting of July 20th. May I have a second?
Second.
John?
John O'Donnell, yes.
Bert? Ken?
Ken Dodge, yes.
Dave?
Dave Good, yes.
Susan?
Susan Karen, yes.
Craig Hannafin, yes. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
All right. All right.